In a world devastated by nuclear energy in the year 2121, humanity almost went down the drain. Surviving in this bizarre wasteland, our boy accelerates his motorcycle with an awesome sword on his back. But suddenly a giant and incredibly ugly monster appears in front of him. Stepping outside the safe zones, anyone becomes easy prey in this hell. Quickly the nuclear beasts dominate the area, spreading terror among humans. Insects that people used to crush underfoot became gigantic nightmares. Facing a mutant praying mantis, our protagonist doesn't lift his foot off the accelerator. Flying toward the creature, he already draws his weapon in mid-air. His eyes shine with bloodlust as he prepares the strike, tearing the monster in half with an insane slash. He shows that the law of the strongest is the only one that counts here. But the concrete jungle hides even worse terrors than these creatures, because the true danger of this world goes far beyond the monsters. Driving through a destroyed camp, our little protagonist continues on his way. Looking at a photo, he seems to be searching for a clue. Arriving at a sinister mansion, he finally finds the place he was hunting for. Together with the old man who was by his side, they think the night is going to be quite entertaining. Without understanding anything, the chubby guy and our protagonist realize they were side by side. In the blink of an eye, the kid sweeps the guy and puts him in the trunk. Now wearing an elegant suit and a mask, he prepares for the show. Stopping in front of the mansion's giant door, the atmosphere already becomes tense. But as soon as he arrives, he is greeted with guns to his face. Pointing a shotgun directly at his face, a woman warns that he's in the wrong place. Putting a knife to our boy's neck, another woman threatens to send him to the beyond if he takes one more step. Keeping his cool, the protagonist simply puts his hand in his pocket, telling the two to open their eyes wide. He shows something that changes the game. Shaking to the core, the woman with the gun realizes he is a super VIP guest. Warning that he came to have fun, the boy tells her not to ruin the mood. Changing their attitude on the spot, the guards welcome him to the Eden of the desolate land. Guiding the VIP through the corridor, the receptionist treats him like a king. Then the doors open for him to enjoy the journey in this sick place. Walking through a dark corridor, our little protagonist feels the tension in the air. Soon double luxury doors open before him. Looking from above, he sees that the underground club is packed with dangerous people. In this place, the big shots spend fortunes on the special services offered. Observing the crowd below, the boy analyzes the situation. Shouting into the microphone, the host announces that money talks loudest there, promising the ultimate pleasure for whoever has the cash. She hypes up the audience. As the auction begins, a bunch of trapped girls appear in display cases. Sold as premium products, they are the main attraction. Exciting the wealthy guests, the host tells everyone to open their wallets. Watching the auction unfold, our protagonist doesn't seem very impressed by the spectacle. Suddenly a white-haired woman appears asking if the VIP guest is alone. Serving a drink, she wants to know if he didn't enjoy the products on display. Complaining that the merchandise is boring, the kid asks for something more exciting. Understanding the message, the woman warns that to see the elite merchandise he needs to be a supreme member. Quickly showing a mysterious ring, the protagonist proves his worth. Shocked by what she sees, the manager loses her words. Apologizing for not recognizing his importance, the woman changes her tone and invites him to follow her. Leaving the main auction behind, they enter a super restricted area. Opening the door of a fancy room, she tells the guest to come in. Inside, the atmosphere is purely luxurious and sinful. Sitting on the bed, a girl with cat ears introduces herself as Xiao Mai, 18 years old. Pointing to her, the manager says this one is high level and asks what he thinks. Giving a half smile, the boy answers that she's not bad at all. Saying goodbye, the woman tells the protagonist to enjoy the night and disappears. Alone in the room with the cat girl, he comments that he finally found something of quality. Jumping onto the bed, Xiao Mei announces that from now on she is his exclusive pet. Speaking softly, she says the master can do absolutely anything he wants with her. She pulls our boy without mercy and cuts the small talk. Smiling, she says she loves when things heat up. Finding everything too ordinary, our boy says that this alone is pretty boring. Picking up on the cue, the cat girl asks if the master doesn't like to take the initiative, pulling him closer, promising to be very obedient. Even suggesting the use of something, she teases the boy. Liking the idea, the protagonist asks if she enjoys that. Says yes. Then he lets out a simple and dry "great." Quickly, the protagonist summons a sinister whip in his hand. He raises his arm without mercy. The leather cracks on her back. Startled, she asks why he hit her so hard. Mocking her, the kid asks if she can't even handle one blow being such a tough one. Revealing the deception, he warns that as long as the head isn't crushed, she won't be dying. The girl, with a gloomy look, realizes that our boy knows she is a beast, woman, and a disguised scavenger. Without the disguise, our protagonist reveals his true face with complete ease. With a mocking smile, The boy warns that her disguise is terrible since smell and temperature give away beast men. Pretending to be a victim, the cat girl asks how this is possible and begs the master not to be cruel. In a surprise attack, she reveals praying mantis claws to try to slice the kid up. Without wasting time, the little protagonist lands a brutal whip strike and makes the monster scream in pain. Thrown with force, the creature slides across the floor of the room. Upon revealing her disgusting form, the creature doesn't understand how a simple whip broke her transformation. Confused, the mutant notes that he seems too much of a newbie to have such a bizarre weapon. Quite relaxed, the kid explains that he's just a common scavenger fulfilling a cleaning mission. He tells the beast to call her friends right away to save his time. Upon realizing she has no chance alone, the creature lets out a bizarre scream seeking reinforcements. Outside, the armed guards hear the commotion and already prepare to strike. Because she thought the target was dangerous, the guard realized it was just a brat. In a mocking tone, the platinum-haired one suggests that the sisters help divide the boy's flesh. But the other mutant warns everyone not to let their guard down, because the guy is a professional scavenger. Upon throwing weapons on the floor, the women realize that normal bullets won't work against a hunter. In the blink of an eye, the beauties begin turning into outrageous insectoid abominations. With an evil laugh, the bee woman thinks the kid will be an easy feast to share. Soon after turning into a bizarre spider, the platinum-haired one agrees that the team has total advantage now. In an aggressive jump toward the boy, the mutants scream with blood in their eyes. With complete coolness, our protagonist thinks it's great that they all attack together since it makes the job easier. Upon drawing a shiny paper from his pocket, the boy prepares the real counterattack. In a tight squeeze against the talisman, he activates the power of the mysterious item. Immediately his whip becomes covered by a devastating electric energy. An explosion of lightning fries all the beast women in a single blow. With the room destroyed, the shock wave makes one of the beasts question if he is a new human. Fallen and completely burned, the praying mantis accepts her own pathetic defeat. In the middle of the smoke, the kid stands surrounded by the monsters' bodies. With the paper in hand, the little protagonist explains that he used no special power, just a mere item. After the dust settles, he concludes that spending the lightning talisman was very much worth it to eliminate 5 targets. With the truth exposed, the boy understands that this group was attracting humans on purpose for slaughter. Apparently the mutant beasts were devouring VIP clients in absolute secrecy. According to the mission information, these 5 abominations focused only on those who walked alone. Through services as bait, they devoured whoever went there seeking entertainment. Thanks to nuclear evolution, these pests can perfectly imitate humans and represent an absurd danger. Under the name Lu Xing, the kid reveals that he took this job precisely to clean up the area. With the green core in hand, the protagonist realizes that the creature's loot is worth more than the actual mission reward. In this world, scavengers are the people who handle the worst messes in exchange for money. Under the control of a powerful guild, they are mostly warriors who awaken powers because of radiation. Just as animals suffered mutation, certain people also received this radioactive gift. Known as new humans, these guys gain brutal strength and dark powers to survive. On the way home, Lu Xing explains that the lightning from before was just an item, and his real ability is quite strange. In Memories from the Past, the orphan recounts that he lived being beaten and starving on the streets. Everything changed when Captain Fan Xiaoyu saved the boy and placed him on the Twin Leopards team. From that day on, the little protagonist's only goal became getting as strong as possible in the middle of the apocalypse. Even with a lot of training, the protagonist knows his level is still low against the big bosses of the area. Luckily, he found an alternative path to become overpowered with items that simply don't exist in that world. Upon arriving at his secret base, he can finally relax after the slaughter. After unlocking the metal door, the boy ensures the environment is completely safe. Already in the chair, he prepares to use his true and greatest trick up his sleeve. Eyes closed, Lu Xing focuses his mind and lets his physical body shut down. In a deep and instant sleep, the real magic finally begins to happen. His special ability allows his soul to travel directly into another bizarre universe. Soon in a chaotic spiritual realm, he faces a place full of demons as lethal as the nuclear monsters. Unlike the desolate land, this dark universe allows people to cultivate immortality. Received by a little flying girl, she celebrates that the sect master has finally awakened. Now in cultivator's clothes, our protagonist displays an imposing and sinister appearance. With eyes fixed on the ancient architecture, he finds it insane to trade a bed in the desert for this mystical setting. In a stroll through the courtyard with the little girl, the kid admits it still costs him to believe in this astral journey. To fully understand this craziness, he warns that we need to go back a few months in time. On that fateful day, the boy had gone to sleep just like any other night in his life. When he opened his eyes, he came face to face with an infernal scene surrounded by a mountain of corpses. Extremely confused, the kid realized his soul inhabited a completely unknown body. Thinking it was just a bad nightmare, he tried to calm down in the middle of the body dump. But the rotten smell of death hit so strongly that it made his stomach churn on the spot. With the help of the scavenger bracelet, he scanned the dead and saw they died from energy drain. On the bizarre horizon, the situation managed to become 100 times more insane and terrifying. Facing floating towers and giant thorns, he realized he had fallen into an ancient cultivation world. Out of nowhere, a bizarre headache forced the memories of the body's former owner into his mind. In this lawless realm, spiritual energy dried up and was replaced by a malevolent aura that corrupts the mind. Stimulated by this dark force, demons spread terror and hunt people mercilessly. Even worse are the cultivators who adopted bloody methods to maintain their own power level. The body's original owner was a mere disciple forced to excavate treasures until death in the so-called Ascension sect. Without any strength to fight, ordinary people simply accepted the slavery imposed by the oppressors. Despite appearing to be a hero, the sect leader used his own students as cattle to strengthen his personal cultivation. Under the sect leader's macabre magic, students lost their entire souls to feed his power. Even worse, he called this whole monstrosity a divine blessing for the victims. Those with even a little more magical talent were transformed into living material for making potions. In this disgusting way, a reign of dead disciples ended up discarded in the middle of the desert. Realizing the rottenness of this world, the boy understands that he reincarnated into the soul of an unfortunate one, and not in the body itself. Suddenly his head throbs again and the mind is bombarded by another batch of memories. In the past, the masters of this land were so overpowered that they could even control the clouds and rains in the sky. In the Golden Age, running into several celestial-level warriors on the street was as common as seeing stray dogs. Compared to the bigwigs of the past, the so-called masters of the present are nothing more than mediocre helpers. With a sacred appearance, the kid sees that even demons converted to the side of the light in those wildly powerful times. Led by the sect's ancestral master, everyone lived in peace until calamity dominated everything. Unfortunately, the world's good energy dried up and corrupted energy took over, turning peace into a total hell. To not lose the last spark of hope, the ancient master had to resort to a super-secret technique. Protected by a wall of lightning, they hid the sect's heart underground for thousands of years. Locked underground, the mystical knowledge was lost forever amid the invasion of outside monsters. Taking complete control, a group of dark mages spread panic pretending to restore the world's glory. Using blood and souls of innocent victims, these demons tarnished the entire kingdom's reputation. As the last hero of the original sect, the ancestor passed on the mission of reviving their honor to the original disciple. By pure luck, the instructions for the secret technique survived in his mind, even after the tragic death in the present. Explaining the steps precisely, the old man taught how to find the ruins and use a special silver bracelet to open the gate. Guided by the memories, the boy walks to the center of the mountain of dead to find the secret entrance. Searching through the open-air cemetery, he finds exactly the hole that matches the master's memories. At this exact moment, his radioactive tracker beeps indicating an absurd nuclear signature deep below. Glowing brightly, the bracelet confirms that the secret entrance is precisely the place with radiation at its peak. Feeling the resonance increase, the protagonist throws the rope ready to face the danger below. Descending the wall of dried corpses, with every step the atmosphere becomes more bizarre and heavy. Reaching the bottom of the pit, he lands on his feet in complete darkness. With the nuclear alarm blaring on his wrist, the kid already prepares for the worst scenario. Without prior warning, giant skeletal hands emerge from the shadows in his direction. Stealing his gaze toward the danger, the boy's eyes meet the skeletal enemy. A colossal and rotting skull roars with rage, protecting the millennia-old secret at the end of the cave. Immediately recognizing what that is, the boy isn't startled and grasps the scheme. In a quick movement, he prepares the bracelet on his wrist to use the secret trick. Using the code the old master taught him, he taps twice and sends the opening charm. Immediately the demonic skull reacts to the command, lighting up an eye with green energy. Forming a corridor with flying skulls and blue flames, the giant monster opens a passage for him. Confirming the theory, he notices the ugly creature was just the bizarre lock of the secret door. Glowing with the color of ancestral magic, the little protagonist understands that the bracelet on his wrist was always the main key. Soon the door transforms into a galactic portal that pulls the kid into another dimension. Crossing the passage in a jump, the blue flames follow his movement. On the other side, a gigantic magical laboratory full of lights leaves the kid speechless. Seeing the absurd level of that world, he assumes that the cultivation legends didn't do justice to reality. Looking at his own wrist, The boy doesn't understand how the bracelet completely changed the atmosphere. Launching a red light into the air, the item glows in the middle of the sanctuary's shadowy courtyard, materializing energy from nowhere. The ghost girl with flying flames appears floating before him, lighting up his eyes with admiration. He can barely believe in the spiritual entity standing there, with mystical smoke escaping through his fingers. He feels the power pulsing through the new body. Showing complete respect, the ghost girl greets the boy, calling him the true sect master. Curious about his own origin, the protagonist questions the huge title he just received. With great patience, the little one explains that she is just a piece of soul kept to guide the heir in the future. During the Golden Age, the ancient leader created an overpowered magic that united light and darkness in the same strike. When hell broke loose, the demons went mad and ordinary humans had no chance to retaliate. But in a snap of fingers with eyes blazing with fury, the ancient master turned the tide. Forming a monstrous golden Buddha, he recited the mantra to wash away the planet's filth. Destroying with a sacred word, the golden entity crushed all evil in an instant. In the blink of an eye, the light of justice incinerated most of the dark forces that dominated the area, and then an attack with thousands of golden hands punched the demons, scattering the remnants. Seeing the absurd strength in the memory, the boy understands that the magic was capable of annihilating entire mountains. Promising to help the new leader, the little ghost joins him in the mission to revive the sect's glory. However, the protagonist realizes the great problem of cultivating magic in a place where energy was replaced by radiation and extreme pollution. Realizing that the radar itself found the portal because it followed nuclear energy, he has an insane and brilliant idea. Basically, the radioactive stones from the modern world can work just like the magic crystals of this cultivation universe. Tapping his chin, the kid wonders whether it's possible to bring those radioactive stones back here. Noticing the worry, the little one asks if something is wrong with the master. Making up an excuse that he's sleepy, the protagonist only asks for a quiet corner to pass out. Promising maximum security, the little girl says she will take care of the boss while he rests his eyes. As soon as he relaxes in a safe environment, the kid's body immediately crashes into deep sleep. Waking up suddenly on the beat, up couch in his own house in the real world, he sees that he returned at the same time as before. Connecting the dots, he understands that sleeping is what triggers the shortcut between the apocalyptic world and the magic world. With a clever smile on his face, he concludes that everything he is physically holding will be transported too. Soon afterwards, the suspicion is confirmed when he pops up at the secret base delivering a shiny stone. Seeing that the stone works as a bomb of pure magic, he tells the ghost girl that fuel won't run out. Excited about the new energy, the little flying girl decides to show the sect's supreme artifact. Invoking the forces of nature, a giant magical cauldron sprouts in the center of a blue summoning circle. With everything ready, she guarantees the furnace is back up and running, just needing to put the load inside for the magic to happen. In the past, the master sealed disciples' souls in the cauldron to reincarnate everyone when possible. Throwing the nuclear stones inside the magical furnace, the boy announces that it's time to wake up the folks. With the flame reacting to the radiation, the little protagonist says he wants to see his own luck in this bizarre gacha system. Watching from afar, the ghost girl comments that the technique requires patience to create a new body from scratch. But breaking all the rules, the fire shoots up and forms the phoenix, announcing the almost immediate return of a warrior. Bursting through the ceiling of the cauldron, the smoke announces that the new disciple's spirit is brutally powerful. Holding back the wind that came from the explosion, the kid is surprised by the speed of the summoning. From the middle of the flames, a powerful hand emerges, breaking the magical wall of the giant cauldron. Without a drop of fear of the sacred fire, a dark figure walks calmly through the blaze. Looking at the new leader with contempt, the freshly born beauty asks who the kid in front of her is. As soon as she lays eyes on his wrist, the purple-haired sorceress recognizes the bracelet immediately. Completely disrespecting the protagonist's authority, she stands still while the ghost tells her to bow. Thinking the plan went wrong, the woman imagines that the ancient master's soul turned to dust for good. Suspecting the boy, she thinks he is a scammer and decides to test his strength before obeying. Sizing up the kid from head to toe, she goes for the fight without thinking twice. Smiling without understanding anything, the boy thinks she wants to celebrate the sect's restoration. Keeping her arrogant pose, she announces she has zero interest in participating in this reconstruction game. Mocking him, the woman tells the fake master to wet his pants in fear. Ignoring the ghost's order for silence, the beauty throws a violent punch, sending the little ghost flying. Full of rage, she unleashes her own magic, screaming that fate belongs only to herself. However, activating the card up his sleeve, the little protagonist illuminates the bracelet with a sinister green energy. Immediately a mystical lightning chain wraps around the traitor's body, breaking all her attack. Pulling the sorceress with brute force, the boy smiles knowing that the soul-binding trick worked. Remembering the spiritual journey, the protagonist recalls that the bracelet has total control over sealed spirits. Explaining to the startled little ghost, he says the curse was discovered by pure accident. Commenting on the past, the ghost says the cauldron was used only to imprison beasts out of control. Using the spiritual whip, masters tame creatures, keeping them all under the power of the magical collar. Following the same principle, the chain passes through the flames, guaranteeing that the boy controls the resurrected ones. Instead of a complex spell, the kid says he just pulled the bracelet without meaning to, and the magic was automatic. Humiliated on the floor and bound, the warrior finally recognizes the crushing authority of the current master. Showing mockery, the boy says she is just an artifact spirit that should be proud of her function instead of causing a scene. Terrified at the threat of becoming scrap again, the woman begs for her own life, promising to work for free. Swearing absolute loyalty, she promises to focus her entire life on creating magical items to help the sect. Deliberately turning away, the boy tells her to go away, saying that falsehood is useless. Falling into total despair, the sorceress pulls the chain with her mouth and screams she can refine even stones if he wants. Mocking her suffering, he turns his back, threatening to send the useless disciple straight back to the beyond. Aware this is the last chance, she stretches her arms, trying not to lose the new body no matter what. With energy glowing in her hand, she activates the forge using the nuclear crystals he threw. Not understanding the origin of the stone, the woman is amazed by the intense energy coming from a rotten material. Promising a miracle in the furnace, she lights the magical fire and announces the first production begins. Watching the situation with a smile, the kid asks to see if the work is worth it. Joining her hands with determination, the forger shouts the activation spell for the supreme technique. Due to the strange purity of the crystal, she warns that the talismans created will be completely random. Quickly she displays the result, showing the card she just crafted from scratch. Analyzing the Falcon Talisman, the protagonist wonders if the spell guarantees flight abilities in the mystical style. To make up for the poor start, she channels the magic with even more will, promising to triple the production. Increasing the size of the flame, the cauldron boils at a level completely off the charts. Satisfied with the new magic, the disciple presents the next product that came out of the lottery. Intrigued by the item, the kid takes the bizarre seed, trying to recall if he has seen anything like it. After using almost all available energy, the crow woman collapses on the floor like a rock. Stuttering from exhaustion, she tries to explain she hasn't eaten in 2 days and the magic drained her battery. Laughing, the protagonist picks up the forger in his arms and promises to figure things out after a few hours of sleep. Relaxing on the old couch, the boy thinks about what to do with her hunger since the sect itself has no supplies. Remembering the last test with the bracelet, he knows that items with biological life don't survive the interdimensional journey. Staring at the few remaining stones, the kid decides that reviving the rest of the group might be the salvation, and not a problem. Ready to obey, the little ghost starts the machine without questioning the master's crazy idea. The cauldron trembles, entirely vibrating at such a high level it seems about to explode. 2 dragon smokes burst out, fighting inside the cauldron, showing that the confusion is about to begin. Activating the chain to the max, the boy immediately throws the lightning whip at the red beast and the white beast at once. Pulling the 2 of them, the protagonist already shouts the supreme order, telling the chaos to end right now. Tangled in the spell, the 2 girls start bickering on the floor as if they were neighborhood quarrelers. Complaining about the noise, the crow woman wakes up with a groggy face, asking who broke the sanctuary's peace. Looking at the purple sorceress, the red dragon opens her eyes suspiciously to see if she knows the troublemaker. Completely lost, the girls look at the whole scene without understanding who this pair of sisters that fell from the sky is. In a mocking way, the purple one warns that the dragon twins were famous for causing disaster all day at the sect. Without releasing the girl's chain, the crow eggs the 2 on to finish the fight to see who wins the duel. Stepping in the middle of the chaos, the ghost tells the dragons to thank the leader for being alive. Frozen with surprise, the beauties look to the side and stare at the white-haired kid who forged their bodies. Impressed, the white dragon goes for the boy with ulterior motives, feeling the absurd force of his body. Clinging to the protagonist's arm, she throws on the charm, reminding that the novice master still has much Taoist technique to learn. With a sly smile, she already offers to teach him the so-called dual cultivation. Flying with a dropkick, the red dragon shoves the sister away with a punch, telling the frisky one to disappear. Closing her face and full of attitude, the redhead puffs her chest, saying she is the #1 assassin and has the best training methods. Not to be outdone, the little redhead also claims she knows dual cultivation techniques to help the master. Tired of the confusion, the forger proposes a free-for-all fight where whoever wins gets the right to have the kid. Shouting for the three of them to shut up, the protagonist already loses patience with the women's yelling, telling them to stop the argument. He shifts the focus, saying that fights are useless now. Raising the mysterious seed, the kid decrees that whoever solves the food problem will become his main mentor. Recognizing the item immediately, the red dragon's eyes go wide and says the seed is an absurdly rare treasure. Explaining the mystery, she says this plant only sprouts when buried in a place where thousands died and left malevolent energy. Getting closer, the white dragon warns that it's not just that, and there's a hidden trick in the process. For the tree to truly grow, it needs to absorb the evil of the earth and the pure magic of the sky simultaneously. Dumbfounded by the explanation, he discovers that eating the fruit of this tree not only fills the belly but also grants divine powers. Thinking through it, the kid realizes that cursed land is precisely what is not lacking in the radioactive desert. The bigger problem is finding the pure magic, since the world there was dominated by demons that corrupted everything. To solve the problem, the protagonist says he will fetch the earth in the apocalyptic world, while the little ghost takes care of the disciples in the sanctuary. Promising to bring more radioactive crystals, he guarantees that the next mission's loot will be worth it. Pretending to faint, the boy triggers the interdimensional travel gateway. Waking up face to face with the ceiling of his house, he sees there are several missed calls on his communicator. Displaying the hologram of a stressed woman, the message demands the kid's presence to deliver something good. Arriving on his motorcycle at the city center, he remembers the day he met the famous captain. Stopping in front of the huge guild building, the protagonist feels the weight of the new mission. Passing through the biometrics of the captain's luxury apartment, he gets cautious about all the messages she sent. Unlocking the door, the scene on the other side makes it clear the place is a mess. Stepping on chip bags and trash scattered around, the boy doesn't even know where to put his right foot. Shouting the boss's name, he tries to find the woman in the middle of the pigsty. Sprawled on the couch playing video games, the captain doesn't care about the mess in the living room. Taking her focus off the screen, she smiles and asks what he's doing there so early. Collecting on the promise, the kid reminds her about the good thing she promised by message. Stretching out on the couch, the woman blinks and plays dumb. Giving a good stretch, she asks what on earth it even was. Snapping her fingers, the captain pretends to suddenly remember just to make a drama. Smiling from ear to ear, she says she managed to arrange a tough job this time. Knowing she is lazy, she drops the bomb, saying she will pass the mission to him as a form of training. Splitting the money 30% for her and 70% for him, the protagonist finds it strange to go on a 2-star mission completely alone. Showing no concern, the captain guarantees that since he is the only student of a rank S fighter, he can handle it easily. Changing the subject, the boy asks directly and bluntly for an advance to buy new equipment. Supporting the idea, she gives a thumbs up, thinking that improving weapons is very smart. Going for the kill, he already asks if she can sponsor the equipment purchase. Breaking into a cold sweat and turning away, she pretends it's complicated to talk money right now. Giving an awkward smile, she admits she's totally broke. Justifying the broke state, the woman says her own super strong body doesn't need weapons to hit monsters. Appealing to common sense, he says a rank king scavenger receives an absurd monthly guild allowance. With a bored face, the captain calls him knave for not knowing the truth. Revealing the mystery, she says she spent all the monthly allowance paying for expensive items inside an online game. Closing the account, she warns that next month's new video game is already going to burn through her next income. Seeing the boss indebted because of games, the boy realizes the woman spends money like water. Being realistic, the protagonist understands that depending on her to pay for mission weapons isn't going to work. Mounted on his motorcycle, he acknowledges that despite her vice, he would never refuse an order from the captain. Thinking about the past, he remembers that he owes his very life to her when he was scavenging scraps to not die of hunger. Still a brat, he was captured by the worst gang in the desert who wanted to turn children into soldiers. Surviving the tests by sheer grit, the bandits found the boy too tough a nut to crack and took him into the gang. In the desert, a human bandit is nothing compared to a radioactive worm that swallows trucks for breakfast. Even escaping the creature, he would get beaten and hide to not become nuclear monster food. Running with a beat-up sword, he could barely stand while fighting to survive every minute. Taking desperate leaps, the kid tried to live one day at a time in the apocalyptic jungle. Thinking he would last a while, bad luck hit hard and a horde of monsters flattened his area. About to be swallowed by a demonic wolf, the boy thought that was going to be the end of the line. As if a miracle falling from the sky, The captain descended, slicing the creature in half with a single blow. Complaining that the horde made her lose the video game match, the heroine landed fuming, telling the boy to stay put. She promised to finish off the monsters very quickly. Loading her hand with golden magic, she aimed directly at the crowd of nuclear beasts. Firing an absurdly powerful punch, the woman created a tornado with her own strength, wiping out the entire horde with a single attack. The captain saved the kid's skin with no effort. Adopting the boy permanently, she saw he had potential and put the protagonist on her team. Thanks to this, the boy became the only member of her gang and is now arriving at the 2-star Mission Institute. Received by armed guards, the Institute's doctor says he was already expecting the guild's scavenger. Greeting the head of the place, the scientist speaks formally, but the boy asks to skip the bureaucracy. Entering a super modern office, the doctor tells the kid to sit down to explain the situation. Being served by a mutant cat girl, the protagonist ignores the distraction and asks for a straight summary of the problem. Showing pride, the doctor says the place is a charity foundation for mutant monsters. Telling the story, he warns that in 5 years they've rescued hundreds of homeless beast men. Trying to clear the beast's name, the scientist says their danger is just prejudice from normal people. Working hard in the laboratory, the team tries to eliminate the monster genetics and transform the people back into humans. The current problem is that a very angry beast is causing absolute terror in the main building. According to the doctor, this mysterious creature hasn't stopped attacking the Institute for days. During the conversation, a tremor shakes the room and the doctor deduces the beast is back. Jumping into action, the boy tells everyone to stay hidden while he handles things outside. Shooting like crazy at the ceiling, the guards realize rifle bullets don't even scratch the creature's shell. Watching the scene through the glass, the kid is in shock upon noticing the size of the problem. Analyzing the enemy, he recognizes the monster as a desert titan python that seems about 10 times more furious than normal. Watching the guards shoot non-stop, the protagonist warns that shooting will only make the giant snake even angrier. Letting out a deafening hiss, the snake already shows it's not playing around and launches a toxic cloud. Asking to borrow a grenade from one of the guards, he prepares to grab the beast's attention. Somewhat skeptical, the guard hands over the grenade, wondering if the scavenger is crazy or just too poor to own a weapon. Jumping into the air with the equipment in hand, the kid screams for the monster to look at him. Hitting the creature's neck dead-on, the fire explosion completely grabs the target's attention. Provoking the giant serpent, the kid accelerates his motorcycle to draw the danger away from the Institute. Furious with the attack, the python roars and begins chasing the motorcycle at full speed. Crawling after the little protagonist, it destroys everything in its path, creating a trail of dust and chaos in the desert. Keeping its distance, the boy celebrates that the free grenades are doing great work on the mission. With a confident smile, he says he has never made a hunt with so much ammunition to spare before. Having led the beast to an empty ravine, the kid decides that's the perfect place for the final kill. Throwing a rain of grenades into the air, he sends the explosive gift straight at the monster's face. Completely covered in smoke, the serpent advances through the rain of explosives with its eyes glowing. Immediately the ravine becomes an inferno of explosions, blinding the serpent with the orange glow. Holding a magical talisman in his right hand, the protagonist takes advantage of the chaos to channel his secret magic. Taking a leap with his sword energized by blue lightning, he applies the thunder light cut. Cutting through the dust, the electric blade slices off a giant chunk of the creature's body and makes the snake wail. Assessing the blow, the protagonist concludes that mixing magic with a blade weapon works wonderfully. Making things worse, the serpent activates a bizarre regeneration and the wounds on its neck heal in the blink of an eye. Releasing a disgusting purple jet from its mouth, the snake spits its deadly venom into the air. Melting the rocks on the ground, the sprayed acid shows the thing is far more lethal than a common venom. Barely dodging, the protagonist is indignant at the snake's filthy acid attack. Watching his beloved motorcycle turn into a puddle of melt in seconds, the boy laments the loss of his beloved scooter. Since things got seriously ugly, he decides it's time to activate the trump card hidden up his sleeve. With eyes glowing, the boy uses the celestial shadow falcon talisman and electric wings appear on his back. With black lightning wings flapping, the kid swears to avenge the destroyed motorcycle and promises to rip out the creature's core. Flying like a jet toward the beast, he concentrates all the thunder energy into a lethal diving attack. Falling in a spiral like an electric drill, the protagonist's fury descends mercilessly on the monster. Piercing the serpent, the boy unleashes several lightning strikes, blinding the beast on the ground. Taking damage to its eye and face, the snake shakes its head trying to escape the electric hell. Finishing the combo, the protagonist points a glowing finger with concentrated lightning ready for the final shot. Seeing a tear fall from the giant monster's eye, He holds back the final attack, finding the reaction strange. Shocking the kid, the beast seems to be crying like a frightened animal, losing its relentless monster composure. Activating his sensor, the boy examines the serpent's aura and understands the situation. Looking carefully, he notices the silhouette of a beast, woman trapped and forced to become the desert titan python. Understanding the dirty scheme, the protagonist retracts the wings, claps his hands, and ends the combat for good. Collapsing on the ground, the giant snake's tail crashes down, marking the end of the immediate danger. Later, a guard shows the doctor the giant tail stretching in front of the institute. Receiving payment via electronic bracelet, the kid thanks the mission money. But throwing out a hint, he asks the doctor if something seriously wild happened at the institute recently to call that giant beast. Hiding his nervousness, the doctor says sand monsters always show up there and tells him not to worry. Quickly changing the subject, the scientist offers an extra service with 2 dressed girls for the hero to relax. Crossing his arms and straight-faced, the protagonist gets suspicious of this so-called reward with beast women in the middle of nowhere. Asking point blank if the deal is an illegal service or some badly executed scam, the kid confronts the doctor. Stuttering and waving his hand, the scientist swears everything is consensual as gratitude for the institute's defense. Pretending to fall for the story, the kid smiles sideways and asks the guy to gather all the mutant girls in a room for him to relax for real. Startled by the kid's appetite, the doctor stutters a bit, but says the client is boss and arranges everything. In a closed room with dim lights, several maids crowd together waiting for the supposed moment of fun. Seeing the lineup of women ready for service, the protagonist crosses his arms, noticing something is very wrong. Retracing the entire gratitude story, he notices their dead-eyed look reeks of pure despair and fear. Without dragging it out any longer, the protagonist tells them all to stop the cheap act. In a lightning movement, the chains fly out and the bracelet paralyzes the whole group in 1 second. In a dark corridor of the secret laboratory, the scientist's silhouette walks with no idea what just happened in the room. Walking through the green glass tubes full of water, the doctor talks to himself while inspecting the bizarre place. Arriving at the main incubator, he sheds fake tears while observing something preserved in the liquid. Presenting his masterpiece, he promises his dead wife that he will finally revive the creature in the glass. Descending the stairs on the scientist's back, the kid interrupts the monologue, deducing that the giant capsule was the reason the beast was attacking the place. In shock, the doctor turns around without understanding how the kid already finished the fun from the upper floor in so little time. Not wasting time on stories, the protagonist lands a monstrous punch straight in the liar's mouth, spitting blood. The scientist falls to the floor and cries that he was going to invite the kid to work on research with him. Pulling out a phone, he rubs his sadistic smile on the boy's face and presses the terror's red button. Soon a bunch of robotic mutant maids appear from the corners of the room surrounding the little protagonist. Full of pity for the guinea pigs, he raises his hand and shows that all the control collars are already destroyed in his palm. Eyes wide, the doctor is terrified, asking how he removed the collars without blowing up their heads. Surrounded by the revolted guinea pigs, the kid warns that the villain has bigger problems now that he doesn't control the troops anymore. Spilling all the dirt, he reveals that the maids told him the Foundation was kidnapping and enslaving beautiful mutants at the Institute. With explosive collars, they became toys for macabre experiments and served the worst desires of the scientists there. And as if that wasn't enough, he was testing illegal anabolic drugs injected directly into the bodies of other mutant monsters terrorizing the desert. Exposing the fact the protagonist throws in the doctor's face that the place was literally the biggest pit of misery in the desert. Drooling with fear, the doctor shakes his head, screaming he only started doing the atrocities because of a tragedy from the past. In a sad flashback, he recounts that he wanted to be a hero and help the mermaid mutants who suffered at the hands of scumbag humans. But the first mermaid he saved put her hand in the scientist's wife's heart in the middle of the journey, ripping her belly open in front of the man. In the end, the betrayal destroyed his mind, transforming him into this sadistic lunatic who prefers to torture mutants for free to this day. At the time, the doctor and his family sheltered mutants with good hearts, living in peace that seemed unbreakable. Focused on research, he decoded the DNA and found a way to reverse the mutation to transform the beasts into humans. Overjoyed, the man ran to call his wife, telling her the scientific breakthrough had finally worked. Unfortunately, a group of beast men injected the first version of the drug and turned into monsters with no control at all. Arriving too late at the massacre scene, the doctor saw his wife torn apart and his daughter barely alive on the floor. Desperate, he picked up the bleeding girl, promising he would not let her die no matter what. From that day on, his entire life was reduced to keeping his daughter alive in the life support tank without caring about ethics. To pay for the $1 million treatment, he made deals with the underworld selling research in exchange for live mutants. Turning into a science monster, he manufactured every kind of heavy drug, hallucinogen, and anabolic using the victims. Without remorse, he used captured beast men as mere biological tools to fund the crime syndicate's trafficking, ignoring that he had become exactly what he hated. The man only thought about saving his sick daughter. Reaching a sick conclusion, he decided the only cure was to fuse the girl's soul with a perfect mutant. By sheer bad luck, the ideal subject was the very white snake who escaped him and became the giant monster outside. With almost 100% compatibility, the white snake was the missing piece to revive the sleeping daughter. But on the day of the transplant, the mutant evolved, turning into the desert titan python to delay his plans. Rubbing it in the doctor's face, the kid says tearing off the snake's tail was a disguised favor, thinking he has the upper hand. The scientist laughs, saying that with the giant serpent dead, the fusion has no more obstacle. Pressing the button on the crazy phone, he initiates the final protocol, smiling like a demon. Immediately the machine fires up, sucking the vital energy from the other bound maids to fund the ritual. Realizing the mess, the protagonist runs forward to free the other mutants trapped in the laboratory. With the clock ticking, he hopes the machine explodes if the main power doesn't stabilize. Suddenly something sinister begins to happen with the green tube. Ignoring the machine, the two halves of the girl attract each other in a bizarre self-propelled process. Floating in the liquid, the parts stick together, revealing that rejection did not occur as the kid expected. In a visual shock, the doctor's daughter screams in agony as the original body tries to expel the new parts. Shocked, the doctor realizes the millimeter DNA difference has begun to undo the fusion completely. With cables whipping in the air, the machine short circuits, warning that the mutation failed and the bomb will explode. Desperate on the floor, the scientist knows that forcing a stop will transform the girl into a creature worse than death. Raising her hand from the floor, the white snake breaks through the ceiling, invading the laboratory with total fury. Destroying the wall, the giant beast screams, tearing the wiring, trying to shut down the machine and kill the scientist. Observing the beast's theatrical entrance, the protagonist throws in the doctor's face that he never said he had killed the snake. Very wounded, the snake woman assumes her almost human form, saying she didn't kill the protagonist back because she wanted to discover the truth. Assuming the blame, she said she held back during the fight outside just to understand the hunter's motives. Soon the serpent reveals the true past of the story, beginning after nuclear pollution destroyed the forest. At that time, the surviving animals turned into insane beasts except her and a little green snake who also became beast women. Wandering around, the little green snake always had the naive curiosity to approach human settlements. Almost being hunted by bandits, the green snake was saved from death by the young and kind version of Dr. Shu. Years after the pollution, the mutant green snake ran into the savior again, taking care of the institute. Wanting to return the act of kindness, the little one decided to sneak in there to thank the doctor. With the help of the white snake friend, they tried to pull a surprise by invading the facilities silently, but stumbling onto the alarm system, they set the armed guards running after them. In the rush to escape, the green one was surrounded by electric nets, getting trapped like a hunting animal. Trying to rescue the friend, the white snake fought tooth and nail, knocking all the boxes of drugs and poisons to the ground. Without meaning to, the two inhaled the entire chemical cocktail that mixed on the spot, transforming the white one into a furious abomination. Losing her mind, she destroyed all the surrounding woods and massacred half the area before passing out. Ashamed of the damage, she retreated, promising to act only in self-defense from then on. Meanwhile, the green snake tried to heal the doctor's daughter inside, splitting her own body to save the girl. Shocked by the truth, the scientist understands that the mutant risked everything in the past out of love, and he repaid her with torture. The imposing and fierce figure of before is just the desperate woman wanting to finish the past favor. The next morning, the door of the luxurious apartment opens, and the captain yawns, dying of sleep. Looking down, she gets startled by the cute face of a small green mutant girl saying hi. Scratching her head, the woman asks where on earth the kid found the lost little girl. Entering the living room full of pride, the protagonist says that besides completing the mission, he gained a surprise present. In a flashback, the boy recalls that the giant snake used her entire soul and tore her own body apart to ensure the fusion. And in a sinister story twist, the scientist's daughter woke up with genes corrected by the serpent's magic. But the nightmare only ended when the girl recounted that the ancient mutants were the ones who saved her from the massacre years ago. The revelation that dark shadows killed the wife flipped the scientist's mind completely upside down. Unable to forgive himself, the man sacrificed his own biological parts to stabilize the girl's fusion for good. Seeing the machine's energy drop to zero, the white snake used her last breath, donating her remaining vital force to save the green one. Unable to watch the other's sacrifice fail, the protagonist activated the Supreme Talisman and discharged the shock into the system to turn the thing on. With the blue lightning frying the air, the electricity reignited the machines and saved the little girl's life by force. Back in the present, the kid finishes the story with the captain in the middle of her living room mess. Analyzing the little girl, the woman admits that the bizarre rescue turned into a very welcome prize for the team. Hugging the child, the kid argues that leaving the girl behind in the desert would have been signing her death sentence. Pinching the little girl's cheek as she devours a hamburger, the captain finds it cute but tries to maintain her tough girl pose. Presenting the mascot's name, he says Xiaobao is perfect because she is cute and powerful. Sighing deeply, the captain warns that the girl can't just keep eating for free without helping pay the bills. Immediately the boss puts the child in the role of cleaning lady as part of her training. Later at the hideout, the protagonist lies on the couch and holds the magic core he pulled from the white serpent. Waking up face first on the floor of the sect on the other side of the world, he feels the weight of someone falling on top of him. With a sly smile, the crow says she needed to do dual cultivation to speed up regeneration, and he fell right into her lap. Refusing immediately, he pushes the frisky one away, saying that the total focus is on doing cauldron magic. Fixing his clothes, the protagonist wonders what new spell he will get this time if he uses a superior level ingredient. Presenting the giant nuclear core in the protagonist's hand, the crow is fascinated and swears not to disappoint. With magic glowing eyes, she launches the monstrous crystal into the furnace, raising the fire to the ceiling. Startled by the magic explosion, the protagonist tries to understand what came out of the cauldron this time. Jumping with joy, the little ghost announces that the treasure forged by the giant crystal just recognized its owner. Covered in black flames with a cloak of sinister energy, the boy displays an absolute villain appearance. The new demon cat cloak guarantees instant invisibility and allows the user to vanish into the shadows like a ghost. After the power show, they go out to explore and come face to face with the apocalyptic scenario of the sect's world. Collapsed on the floor from exhaustion, the crow complains that using magic 5 times in a row drained all her energy. Looking at the pile of new magical talismans, the boy celebrates that the gacha was generous this time. Telling the sorceress to rest, he summons the dragon sisters for the current mission's heavy lifting. Leaving the sanctuary, the dragons fill their lungs, complaining that the air outside tastes horribly rotten. Right behind them, the protagonist tells the two to stop fussing and focus on finding the cursed earth for planting. Arriving at the pile of dead, the red dragon concludes that the dump sucked all the necessary evil from the area. Suddenly the boy's eyes go wide as he senses an absurd murderous intent approaching. Pushing the girls to the ground, he tells everyone to hide before they get sliced. Through the air, a being of malevolent light lands in the cemetery, dragging tortured souls on her back. Hidden behind a rock, the protagonist observes the villain's silhouette and finds the woman's aura extremely bizarre. Furious, the demon sorceress smells the scent of living beings and begins tracking the smell in the area, promising to kill whoever crossed her path. The woman says she needs live bodies to strengthen her own dark cultivation. Seeing the mess brewing, the protagonist activates the cat cloak's secret ability, covering the body with purple mist. The invisibility protects the entire team at the right moment, fooling the disciple hunter's senses. Looking closely at the villain's clothes, the kid notices she wears the Ascension sect's uniform, just like in the original memory. With the path clear, they follow the souls until reaching the entrance of a terrifying demonic fortress. At the main gate of the enemy sect, hordes of captured people are led inside like cattle. Desperate, the white dragon whispers that trying to enter there disguised is certain suicide. With a confident smile, the kid reveals he already has the strategy to get into the area without raising suspicion. Using a prisoner disguise, the white dragon infiltrates the line of captured prisoners, pretending to be handcuffed and sad. Passing the guards and receiving orders to walk, she advances trembling inside. In the middle of the crowd, the white dragon carries in her arms a harmless black kitten that no one suspects. In reality, the cat is the boy disguised by the cloak's magic, warning that the safe place is right under the enemy's nose. Entering the corridor, the boy notices that the energy there is so dense that whoever stays too long goes insane. Following the memory's coordinates, he focuses his glowing eyes at the end of the dark passageway. Suddenly, an overwhelming force freezes the black cat in the middle of the corridor, sensing a terrible chill. From the shadows, a giant head stretches its neck, sniffing the prisoners' souls, trying to find the intruders. Confused, the beast mutters it sensed a strange vital pulse, but sees nothing beyond the common group. Aware of the danger, the kid hurries knowing the feline form won't last long because of the energy expenditure. Passing the main doors, they come face to face with the center of the infernal sect and are shocked by the size of the operation. Shadow guardians throw prisoners from a fake cliff, deceiving the unfortunate with promises of salvation. When the poor souls jump into the purple mist, the illusion dissolves. Immediately the smoke reveals the true bloody furnace, where millions of bodies are melted. Carefully the little black cat descends on the platform, feeling the lethal energy of the infernal fire against its paws. Knowing he found the ideal place, he confirms that the black earth around the furnace is made of pure resentment. Grabbing the earth bit by bit, the creature floats involuntarily, being pulled by a mysterious gravity. Mowing like a madman, he realizes the furnace wants to suck his soul in, thinking he is a disguised human target. Drained by the spell's use, the boy warns that the invisibility battery ran out at the worst possible moment. With the cloak destroyed, he returns to his human form, being sucked into the purple malevolent energy tornado. Trying to fight the force, the protagonist discovers that escaping the attraction pillar is simply impossible and screams in despair. Spinning in the furnace's whirlpool, the kid sees ghosts trying to drag his soul straight to the bottom of the abyss. Out of nowhere, a green light seal freezes the fall in mid-air, holding the protagonist by the waist. Shocked upon noticing the green light entity, he asks if the ghost can see his real aura. Floating like a celestial soul, the woman asks back what he is, since he didn't melt like butter the way the others do in the furnace. Warning him to speak quietly, she explains she is the artifact spirit of the original furnace and not a simple ghost of death. Showing his teeth, the protagonist asks why she is saving his life from the fire, and the light already suggests a commercial deal. Reliving her own pain, the blonde ghost recounts that before becoming part of that disaster, she served the divine pill furnace. Before, her function was to create miraculous elixirs to strengthen warriors or cure innocent sick people. Showing the monsters turning into pure energy, the girl confesses that refining beasts was the main source of good material for the world. However, the ancient glory barely lasted at all. When the invasion of malevolent QI dominated the lands and the infernal beasts destroyed the defenses, the divine furnace fell into the demon's blood-stained hands without being able to fight back. Dominated by the shadow magic of the demon leader, the artifact was forced to grind people to maintain the tyrant's power. Begging for the kid's help, the ghost asks him to break the chains that bind her to the infernal machine. Promising to become his supreme servant, the blonde swears to obey and create any spell as payment for her own freedom. Stopping the deal's whining, the kid tells the girl to quickly show where the pin holding her is before he changes his mind. Glowing brighter, the spirit points directly at the base of the giant infernal pillar embedded in the cauldron. Looking at the stake's size, he agrees immediately, saying freeing her is the only chance for both of them to get out alive. With flushed cheeks, the ghost gets excited, thinking the kid's intentions with the servant promise might have been malicious. Cutting the romantic mood right away, he makes it very clear he just wants to survive and asks the method to disarm the trap. Injecting his own clear energy magic, the protagonist begins dissolving the artifact's locking pin. Desperate, she grabs the boy's hand, screaming that if the two of them release now, the needle's energy will devour both their souls. Concentrating all the chew from outside, he draws the great thunder sword, aiming at the restraints. Pulling the lightning whip, he prepares the light weapon to smash the chains and destabilize the equipment. On her knees in the air, the blonde feels the exhaustion of the escape as the boy takes a deep breath, trying not to pass out from weariness. Realizing the situation and the pressure of the battle, he understands that focusing the spells on a small target drains more than expected. Resolved, he summons a pill made by the slaves at the hideout to boost his power. With swollen muscles and golden fire energy around his body, he swallows the tiger's strength pill. Feeling his arm tear from pure power, he grabs the invisible chains, applying double his own limit in the attack. Burning with a demon fever, the ghost doesn't understand how the kid caught fire out of nowhere and warns that time is running out. When the protagonist thought he was going to melt, the pillar's chains finally shatter in a blaze of green light. Free from shadow control, the furnace goes back to glowing, recovering all her ancient power at once. Flying away from the infernal fire, she spreads her arms, feeling the taste of freedom after years as a slave. Diving toward the boy, she hugs the protagonist, affectionately thanking him for the heroic rescue. Looking sorely at the woman, the kid goes limp, complaining that the body pain was too high a price for a gacha item. Still focused on escaping, the protagonist says the main problem now is getting out of the furnace intact before the demons notice the rescue. Interrupting the plan, the sorceress sect leader appears, blocking the way with a giant scythe in hand. Promotional image, no action detected. With a bored face, The protagonist recognizes the villain, pointing out that her face is familiar in the human world. Pulling from memory, he recalls urban legends that spoke of entire clans using blood magic in the desert. Comparing the bizarre technique, he deduces the woman in front of him is a low-level parasite mutant who just thinks she's a queen, showing her rotted teeth. The villain remembers the kid and warns that he was just trash she threw in the furnace in the past. Confused, she wonders how the trash survived and managed to pull out the spiritual needle right under her nose. Provoking the beast, the protagonist shows a fireball in his hand and laughs at the terrified witch's face. Desperate to grab the fire, the villain says she will spare the kid's life if he hands over the magical item now. Noticing the gap of greed, the boy clenches his fists and decides to flip the game based on ignorance, pointing the golden light ray at the villain's face. He fires a direct attack, blinding the mutant by surprise. Thrown back by the impact, the sorceress loses control of the scythe and sprawls on the furnace floor. Trembling on the ground, the witch doesn't understand how an insect leveled the fight and almost took her head off. Hidden nearby, the white dragon warns that the shiny bone is the source of the villain's true power. Without thinking twice, the protagonist steals the golden skull, laughing in the humiliated woman's face. Knowing the strength pill is running out, he agrees that stealing the bone and running is the perfect plan. Returning to the black cat form, he tries to mislead the witch to manage to reunite the team. With her body broken on the floor, the giant fly pretending to be a woman tries to recover from the beating. Flying in her original insect form, the parasite seethes with rage, swearing she will hunt the kid to hell to recover the bone. Nearby, the red dragon complains that the white one is sleeping on her feet right in the middle of the invasion. Trying to wake up the sister, she shakes her head, asking what time the leader will call them both. Suddenly, a swarm of demonic flies invades the room, attacking the two by surprise. Dodging the bugs, the redhead kicks a fly in the face in mid-air, showing insane assassin reflexes. Tired of the venom and the environment, the white one stays on the floor, pretending to faint to escape the responsibility of the fight. Landing a well-aimed slap on the white dragon's nape, the red dragon runs out of patience, telling her to stop playing dead. Landing the hit square on her face, the redhead makes it very clear she is not going to carry the team's weight alone. Pretending to be surprised, the white one puts her hand on her red cheek and asks what hit her face like a tractor. Smelling blood in the air, the redhead says the silent mission has failed and the master's brawl must have started. Warning the sister to calm down, the white one tries to maintain the disguise of a weak prisoner to not attract the sect's army. Through the mental communicator, the black cat sends a desperate warning for the duo to run to the main exit and meet with him. Disoriented by the phantom voice in her head, the redhead asks out loud where the leader is speaking from. Noticing the confusion, the master monk appears behind the two and suggests the conversation continue in his private cell. Suggesting a double assassination, the white one proposes, following the old man's lead, to quietly finish the monk and escape afterward. Falling for the beauty's story, the old man laughs, imagining a wonderful double training session in the room. Kicking the monk off the bridge, the redhead can't stand the stalling and goes straight for the kill. Calling the white one stupid, the redhead screams that the old man had already noticed their magic and trying to trick him was just a waste of time. Grabbing the sect's lightning weapon, the white one smiles, saying the two of them are going to need full strength to get through the battalion. Preparing the bomb, the redhead pulls a strange artifact from her cleavage and warns she is going to bring the house down with style. Confirming the total destruction mode, the white one invokes the mystical bow, saying she will clear the guards from a distance. Satisfied with the idea, the redhead readies the demonic machine gun and screams that the bloodbath is starting now. Startled by the two prisoners' absolute strength, the 1,000-armed monster realizes they are the famous assassins. Blocking the attack in mid-air, the fat beast breaks into a cold sweat, complaining it almost fell for the illusion of weakness trap. Flying above the attack, the redhead tells the white one to pull the bow for the second combo. Leaping with its mouth wide open, a giant space earthworm tries to swallow the two in the middle of the fight. Warning that going head-on with a tank monster is stupid, the white one tells the redhead to run while she holds the line. Holding back a smile, the white one gives the retreat order and says the redhead still has to pay for the slap from earlier. Analyzing the bomb in her hand, the redhead understands that her physical strength won't even tickle the giant beast. However, she remembers that the master handed over a golden super-powered pill capable of blowing up mountains. With a mouthful, she swallows the magic and waits for the nuclear force to take effect in the bloodstream. The internal impact of the power is so strong that her body almost explodes in flames and energy on the spot. Taking advantage of the time, the giant beast with a gaping mouth goes for the dragon, swearing to slice her in mid-air. Laughing at the girl's despair, the bizarre-toothed, warm monster flashes a macabre confident smile of victory. Escaping through the dark tunnel, the white dragon leaves the sister on the front line, feeling the atmosphere got strangely heavy. Flying without looking back, the woman thinks she will finally have peace since the monstrous aura has vanished from her radar. Smiling alone, the white one wonders how the redhead was considered top one of the assassin sect if she acts like a madwoman. But without warning, the woman's mind goes blank in mid-air and she falls into the sea of consciousness like a stone sinking into the ocean. Watching the spiritual light go out, the demonic fly laughs loud, saying the weakness disguise came at a price. Since the dragon switched off by herself, the parasite fly takes advantage of the free feast to try to steal the assassin's perfect body. But before touching the body, a wall of blue flames blocks the disgusting creature's approach. Waking up completely, the red dragon appears in the spiritual sea in her monstrous form, holding the bug in her hand. Destroying the spiritual wall with a single punch, the redhead breaks the invasion spell on pure hatred alone. Crushing the fly in her hand, the red assassin smiles insanely, saying squashing a weak parasite is her favorite pastime. Seeing the white dragon bound by invisible cords, the redhead prepares to beat her sister until she wakes from the spell. Stomping a nuclear pin on the fly's chest, the dragon explodes the illusions and pulls both souls out of the mental ocean. Back in the real world, the red dragon is paralyzed by thousands of rotten hands on the ground. Activating dragon blood fury, she widens her purple eye and begins emanating an otherworldly killing energy. Thinking the meal is guaranteed, the strange monk crosses his arms, saying the fresh meat will taste good. But the smile vanishes the moment the darkness spirals out of control and the fat old man is yanked by the foot by surprise. With claws of black smoke, the redhead bursts the illusions for good and faces the entire group alone, ready for total massacre. Disappointed with the level of the guards, the redhead says they are so weak they barely warmed up her muscles. Stepping on a severed giant eye, the redhead notices the monsters there have completely bizarre body parts. Kicking the eye away, she concludes the thing is a piece of some failed master's magical foundation. Immediately a giant rotten hand descends, tearing the cavern floor in a bizarre crash. In another part of the sect, the protagonist faces the same giant hand while wondering where he ended up. Attacking non-stop, the severed hand sweeps the floor, hurling everything to the sides like a crazed mechanical bull. In demon cat form, he reflects that the hand has the same rotten vibe as the base of the past dark sect. Walking through the dark labyrinth, the white dragon sweats trying to find the blasted exit. Tired of the endless stroll, the Platinum One realizes the corridors repeat in an infinite loop impossible to break. Trembling with rage, the woman screams she will not be trapped in a cheap illusion trick after all she has been through. Out of nowhere at the end of the corridor, she sees the silhouette of a cultivator meditating in the putrid air. Readying the light weapon in her hands, the woman suspects it might be a famous phantom trap in this type of cave. Promising to slice ghost or demon alike, she launches a powerful magical attack directly at the motionless figure's back. Firing a blade of pure energy, the shot goes straight in the direction of the old man's back. Without even blinking, the monk illusion turns its face, showing a terrifying smile and one eye glowing in the darkness. Warning that the intruder stirred a hornet's nest, the man of stone promises an enormous calamity for her. Mid-speech, his shadow deforms, revealing a ghost with a bizarre mask flying like green smoke. Appearing directly before her, the old man mocks the Platinum One, finding her useless attempt to fight an illusion amusing. Without losing her cool, the white dragon invokes her family's own spells and says the monk's show is over. But the surprise lands when the monk's shadowy hands tear her clothing and skin before the spell works. Impressed by the girl's body strength, the old man asks how someone so overpowered fell for his cheap little trick. Spitting blood, the dragon smirks, calling the guy stupid for thinking he already won the fight. Staring at the prey coldly, the man thinks she is delirious from the illusion venom. Losing his human form, the tentacle monster shows his true demonic face, mocking the bluff attempt. With tentacles fully wrapped around her, the villain swears to devour every piece of energy before killing the girl. Smiling without fear, the dragon says that if brute force doesn't work, the best way is to implode the enemy along with her. Activating her energy core, the woman draws her vital essence, promising he won't enjoy any part of the body. Knowing the danger of the self-destruct spell, the old man sends the tentacles to pierce her body at once. Showing the bizarre and terrifying skull, the villain warns that a quick end is the best gift she could receive. At the moment the final attack was about to happen, the tentacles simply stopped, crushing the poor girl in mid-air. Confused at his own attack jamming, the monster wonders why his own illusion technique no longer obeys. Standing on the ground for real, the Platinum One reveals that the monster fell like a duckling for her mirrored illusion. Fixing her posture, The woman warns that the old fellow is very conceited for someone with such weak magic. Revealing the deception, she says she used his own trap against his rotten mind to test his level. Irritated, the old man shows his illusion body and says decades of training will not lose to a cheap trick. Promising to play a macabre game of hide and seek, the man warns that the real nightmare is about to begin. Flashing a wicked smile, the Platinum One crosses her arms saying she has no time for undead games. Raising both hands, the dragon invokes the supreme technique of the silent annihilation of the current light. Out of nowhere, the ghost monk with 1,000 hands freezes in mid-air, locked by the glow of the forbidden magic. Looking deep into his soul, the dragon murmurs the activation spell ready to fry the entire monster. In an explosion of celestial blue energy, the beast is covered by flames that destroy impure souls. In shock, the ghost old man doesn't understand how the dragon's forgotten magic appeared at the world's end. Spinning the weapon in her hands, the Platinum One proves that true bloodline didn't disappear and promises to burn down to the last shadow of him. Spinning like a storm of light, she slices the monster's illusion from end to end. Completely cut in two, the bald old man says the pretty attack only tickles his stone body. But out of nowhere, the monster's stone head cracks and starts gushing black energy nonstop. With victory guaranteed, the Platinum One explains that pure dragon bloodline melts any impure illusion just by touching it. Taking the creature's mortal remains, she stares at the twisted shell shape, finding the thing incredibly ugly. Mocking the enemy, she concludes the whole guy was just a piece of an old lizard tail disguised as a master. However, the celebration doesn't last long when the entire corridor begins to shake and light up with red alert codes. Feeling her eardrums almost burst, the Platinum One covers her ears with the pain of a lethal enchantment sounding in the air. In another room, the redhead also suffers the mental attack, kneeling on the ground, trying to protect her mind from the deafening noise. With her hands on her head, the number one assassin screams in pain, feeling her head is about to explode into 1,000 pieces. Carrying the unconscious redhead, the protagonist rescues the ally but notices the dead weight of her body. Asking into the air, the boy doesn't understand what kind of scream managed to knock out the guild's top one in seconds and fears for the white dragon. Materializing on his shoulder, the little ghost says the scream is the warning that the location's ancestral master crawled out of the coffin. According to the blonde, the old monster woke up after sucking the blood of the thousands of dead outside. Exhausted, the kid curses his own luck, saying he can't escape before finding the lost platinum dragon. Suggesting a crazy plan, the ghost warns she has a strengthening spell that needs the protagonist's help. Surprised, he asks what it is, and she casually drops that they need to do dual cultivation right now. Startled, the protagonist doesn't understand how the little ghost girl proposes doing adult magic in the middle of a zombie apocalypse. Touching a glowing finger to his forehead, she warns that the method is not physical and focuses directly on the spirit. Transported by mind, the kid wakes up floating in the middle of a bizarre galaxy with the little blonde floating hand in hand with him. Facing a giant crystal sword and a glowing bell, he notices the energy there is brutal. Explaining everything, the ghost says she made a pure gold lotus using the core of the dragon monster he killed. Sitting on the gleaming flower, the protagonist realizes the artifact's power will multiply his cultivation and even improve his appearance. In a golden energy explosion, the boy feels his body burn, sensing the magic invade his pores and turbocharge his muscles. Soon he breaks the first training barrier, leveling up in a snap with the intense light. Floating with eyes closed, the boy finds the process comfortable, although he feels like a rocket exploding in his chest. After the passage ritual, the two float free from the dissolving flower, saying the main energy ran out. Warning that the second phase is up to her, the girl makes way for the stabilization ritual. Sharing a little secret, she confesses she stole a tiny bit of energy from the dead test subjects while serving as the bald villain's slave. Releasing all this purified impure magic within herself, she prepares to transfer the energy to stabilize his soul. Complaining of extreme heat, the boy burns inside when the concentrated magic hits his body all at once. Covered in golden flames, the two embrace, strengthening the mental cultivation bond and multiplying the protagonist's power to the max. Suddenly in the air, the protagonist gets confused while the bizarre severed hand monster tries to bind him with a black cord. At that moment, the strange creature is yanked with everything across the stone floor with no chance of defense. With a superior look, the blue dragon recognizes the beast, asking if that is the fat centipede's foundation. But she soon notices the leader flying out cold and wonders if the malevolent energy invasion knocked the boy out, and screams, wanting to know where he's going. Without wasting time, the blue one drops, tearing through the air toward the redhead's sister lying on the ground. Landing with impact, she raises dust, ready to wake up the passed out partner. but the kid keeps drifting unconscious through mental space completely without memory of who he is or where he is. Suddenly, the red dragon wakes up coughing blood and breaking the spell that was binding her. Completely lost, the number one assassin raises her head and asks what bizarre noise is echoing in the air. Startled by the crash, the Platinum One also takes a step back, demanding to know what is happening. Soon a monstrous astral projection emerges from the shadows, leaving the two in shock at the absurd size formed by thousands of controlled souls. Formed of pure stardust, the faceless giant releases his voice, threatening and demanding to know which rat dares interrupt his isolated cultivation. Aware the master is out of combat, the Platinum One clenches her fists and says the only way out is to fight head on, even with almost no energy. Tense with the situation, the redhead swallows hard and comments she doesn't know if her remaining spiritual force can handle the task. However, the two invoke blue and purple flames, mixing powers to face the boss once and for all. Furious, the star giant screams that the intruders dare be insolent and promises to bury them both in deadly dust since they chose the point of no return. Launching a colossal palm of energy, he warns that the blow will shatter their souls and send the girls straight to the grave. Ready for the end, the redhead promises to settle accounts in the next life, while the Platinum One laments having to die next to her sister again. But in a surprise flash, a golden sword cutting across the skies appears, tearing the darkness toward the danger. At the moment of impact, the sacred weapon clashes head on with the stellar monster, releasing an absurd power. With a blinding brightness, the golden blade passes through the creature's structure with no difficulty at all. In a mocking tone, the villain calls the attacker an ant trying to knock down a tree and says the sacred roots go too deep. However, the monster's arm explodes in pieces, and he yells that the hit caused a disaster, warning that the settling of accounts will be in the beyond. Quickly, the astral projection dissolves in purple smoke, retreating into the void while mocking the attempt to escape. Back up high, the demon ties the little hand monster in the cords of fate and swears that their lives are already in his palm. Surprised by the help, the redhead analyzes the energy that saved them and concludes that the leader's spirit is almost reaching the golden core formation level. Relieved, the Platinum One smiles, understanding the master wasn't unconscious but was cultivating, though she finds the speed of advancement insane. Finally waking up, the little protagonist adjusts the dark cloak and says seriously that the story is long. Excited, the two girls grab the boy's arm, with the Platinum One telling everyone to go quiet and get back to base quickly. With a boss posture, the boy warns that the place was plundered and the eyeless ancestral will hunt the team mercilessly from now on. Aware of the danger, the Platinum One warns that just hiding physical presence isn't enough, and they need a strong spell to erase all traces. Through water magic, the blue dragon creates a mystical mirror, cleaning all their energy from the location. Meanwhile, a giant vortex springs up in the cemetery, sucking all the lost souls and the rest of the evil sect into the black hole. On the ground, the carcasses of the defeated monsters lie scattered in the dust and destruction. In a fast flight, the team takes advantage of the opening and fires at maximum speed back to the safe sanctuary. Already at the base, the protagonist jumps in surprise, widening his eyes, wanting to know what that mess is. Right in front of him, a fluffy white creature with purple aura growls like an angry dog ready to attack. Desperate, the little ghost girl with red eyes tells everyone to stop the fight right now. Suspended in the air, the purple-clad Forger greets the leader, asking if he finally returned, while the boy demands an explanation for the chaos. Straight to the point, the purple-clad woman accuses the crow girl of stealing spirit stones to open a secret room, justifying her beast form, but the little ghost defends herself, saying she only borrowed them to help with training. With his chin in hand, the protagonist processes the gossip and tries to understand what makes that so-called cultivation place so special it was worth stealing crystals for. Excited, the little ghost explains that the ancient master's pavilion makes 1 day of training inside worth 3 days in the normal world. Suspicious, the Forger presses the ghost, wanting to know how she opened the room since only the ancient master had the key, but the girl stutters that it was pure accident. With a clever smile, the kid decides to let the mystery go and warns he forgives the stone theft because the sect has bigger problems coming. Right away, he hands the remaining nuclear crystals to the little ghost, giving the clear order to summon new disciples and boost their army. Without giving any slack, the boy also orders the crow woman to burn crystals every single day, manufacturing new magic treasures. And putting on pressure, he decrees that the dragon twins need to focus everything on growing the sacred tree seeds because the sect's survival depends on it. After distributing the tasks and telling about the items he gained, the protagonist turns his back and walks straight to the secret pavilion's glowing portal. Inside the cosmic room, He is amazed by the place's energy and decides to leave the physical body cultivating there to reach the golden core level quickly. Far from there, the eyeless ancestral sits on the shadowy throne calming the defeated apprentice, saying the disaster wasn't entirely her fault. Changing tone, the macabre figure warns that the woman isn't innocent in the story either. In his monstrous centipede form, the villain decrees that the mess she started will have to be cleaned up by her. Full of fear, the little severed hand monster is cornered waiting for the chief's punishment. Soon disgusting tentacles wrap around the creature, injecting red larvae to rebuild the creature's body by force. In an instant mutation, the bizarre carcass gains legs and arms, turning into a bipedal abomination. With the warning given, the boss promises to keep the body alive if the creature hunts the 3 intruders and brings everyone back. Back in the apocalyptic world, a blonde playboy accelerates his flying board, boasting he paid a fortune for the equipment just to be the fastest in the desert. In a low pass, the pretty boy cuts through the wind right next to our hero. Looking back, the blonde is in shock seeing the kid flying on a board with no engine and decides to speed up to find out what absurd technology that is. Irritated, the protagonist flies on his magic sword, complaining that the guy is way too fast, but celebrates that his cultivation leveled up and he'll never need to spend money on gas again. Excited, the kid discovers that the magical cultivation works perfectly in the physical body of the desolate world and theorizes the power comes directly from his own soul. In front of a lit tavern in the middle of the dusty city, the hero decides to stop thinking and focus on making money. Right behind him, the little blonde's board lands, raising dust on the dirt floor. With a finger in his face, the playboy brags that his equipment still wins the race by a landslide. Inside the bar, the protagonist is greeted by armed barmaids warning that common scavengers stay on the ground floor and ranked ones go to the VIP floor. Among the tables, he hears mercenaries bragging about low ranks and promising to reach the high level next year. Propped up at the counter, the boy orders the desert's dark beer, and the hunters platter straight from the barman. Using fire magic on the drinks, the barman smiles, receiving the long-lost customer, and asks if he came to hand in any mission. To confirm the story, the kid compliments the friend's skills, but finds it a waste to use magical power just to serve tables. After filling the cup with style, the old man says he enjoys the piece of the work and congratulates the kid for killing 5 beasts alone on a 2-star mission. In the middle of his meal, the protagonist acts humble, saying it was pure luck, and cries the blues, remembering he's still poor as a rat. Listening to the conversation, the other scavengers are in shock, wondering if the boy awakened some special power or found an overpowered weapon in the trash. With a loud laugh, the barman remembers the last reward paid good money and calls the boy a crybaby. With a deep sigh, the hero complains that the captain takes 70% tax on everything and already asks for a 3-star mission recommendation. Getting a serious look, he knows the money is just a detail because he needs to kill stronger monsters to pull the crystals before the eyeless ancestral knocks on his door. Far from there, the girls relax, commenting that the group's cultivation isn't at 100% yet, and the leader needs to forge more artifacts for the next calamity. Back at the tavern, the Manhwa warns that a rank C hunter can't take a 3-star mission alone, while the protagonist complains about the captain's 30% fee. Startled by the name, the blonde kid finds out the little guy is on the Twin Leopards team of the famous rank S captain. Full of interest, the blonde immediately approaches the protagonist, proposing to form a team on the spot. To introduce himself, the blonde reveals himself to be Luo Lishan, flyer of the Desolate Land Lions team. Confused, the little protagonist shakes his hand, remembering that team only recruits people with strong cores, and he never imagined partnering with one of them. Without a shred of pride, the kid introduces himself as the mere underdog Liu Xing and seals the deal with a handshake. With a fist bump, the blonde praises the protagonist's strength and guarantees the two of them together can clear any 3-star mission easily. To burst the duo's bubble, the barman bluntly warns that the guild rules require at least 3 rank C people for this type of work. Out of nowhere, a cute little girl with a bow on her head appears from behind, asking if the team spot is still open. With a sweet smile, she introduces herself as Ling Yu from the Night Cherry Blossom team and asks to join the group. Fascinated by the cuteness, the blonde Lishan accepts the girl right away and gives her a warm welcome. At this moment, the protagonist turns to the counter and asks the barman Hua to quickly send a mission recommendation for the newly formed trio. Excited, the newbies squeeze together while the kid demands a job with maximum difficulty, full of beast men, and preferably with a boss. With a sideways smile, the barman comments the boy has the same death wish as the captain and reveals a serious mess arrived recently. Soon the barman pulls up the hologram and shows the disappearance of an entire school group in the Void Forest, warning no one had the guts to take the job. In the mission details, Hua explains that the place is full of mysteries and the witnesses swear the woods are infested with ghosts and mutant beasts. Without even blinking, the protagonist slams the table and says that's the perfect hunt for their team. Through the system, the trio confirms the Rank C challenge and officially registers the team in the guild at once. With a loud laugh, the blonde questions the choice, saying ghosts don't exist and they shouldn't drag the girl into danger like that. In thought, the little protagonist focuses only on the spiritual treasures, while the barman warns that time is running out against the children's lives. On the digital map, Hua points out two fast but suicidal routes crossing the ravines full of bandits and nuclear beasts. After analyzing the situation, Lishan suggests taking the long way around through the outer ring of the desolate land, which is safe but takes about 10 hours. Timidly, the little girl with the bow raises her hand and warns that there might be a much faster way. From her own hands, she pulls out a shiny shrimp and prepares the bait with a smile on her face. Already outside the tavern, the girl calls her mascot by name, offering the ice snack up above. Quickly, a giant magical blue energy circle opens, tearing the airspace. With a gentle roar, a gigantic stellar whale crosses the portal, floating right above the street. Dumbstruck, the guys are in shock, and the blonde immediately recognizes the creature as an extremely rare stellar whale calf. Full of admiration for the transport, the protagonist concludes the girl must be a billionaire to afford a legendary beast like that. To explain the creature's rules, the girl warns the whale only flies above 1,000 meters and they need to climb up there by force. With the girl in his arms, the protagonist leaps toward the sky while the blonde flies behind, grumbling why she didn't choose to go with him. Mounted on the creature's back, the boy finds it bizarre that the ride is so stable even at that absurd speed. Knowing his stuff, Lichin warns that the whales use wormholes in space and tells everyone to hold on tight. In an explosion of absurd power, the giant blue creature dives in the air, activating the dimensional leap. Like lightning, the team tears through the space barrier in the blink of an eye, crossing the blue rays. Because of the bizarre atmosphere, the little protagonist senses a malevolent aura identical to that of the cultivation world and immediately goes on maximum alert. Below them, the gigantic void forest stretches, covered by a dark and endless mist. With an incredible leap from the whale, the trio lands with style directly in the middle of the thick woods. Switching on the lantern, the blonde finds the place's peace strange, since there's no radiation signal, and finds it insane for an entire school group to vanish there. Trembling with fear, Ling Yu grabs arms and says the heavy energy of the place feels like a scene from that old horror movie. In complete agreement with her, Lishan decides to tell the macabre legend behind that cursed piece of land. In the middle of the suspense, he reveals that long ago that area was known to people as the Forest of Miracles. In a vision of the past, he recounts that the surviving humans built a village there, taking advantage of the forest's wonderful resources. Originally, the territory belonged to beast men who received the humans very well, living in total peace until a tragic night changed everything. On that fateful night, the majority of the village's humans were slaughtered and hung from the trees for everyone to see. The message called to rescue the few survivors. The guild's scavengers annihilated the beast men, planting the seed of eternal hatred between the two races. But the creepiest part is that a surviving little girl swore she saw a ghost from afar orchestrating the entire massacre. Questioning the story, the blonde says ghosts don't exist in this apocalyptic world and is sure the girl confused one with a mutant. In a quick interruption, the cute girl states with conviction that the girl from the past didn't lie, and by the way, she is today the captain of her own team. Through a hologram, the girl reveals that Captain Huanyang has the extremely rare gift of truly seeing spirits. Because of the woman's nickname, Lichin calls her the crazy seer, but jokes that if the ghost does exist, he'll slice the apparition with his sword to grab the treasure. Irritated by the disrespect, the girl stamps her foot, demanding he stop calling her mentor crazy. Because of a shadow passing in the brush, the protagonist cuts the conversation and tells the team to chase the intruder right now. After following the macabre trail, they reach the door of an abandoned concrete building in the middle of the darkness. Facing the structure, the blonde is baffled to find an entire school hidden in the deadly depths of the forest. At the window on the second floor, Ling Yu desperately warns there is a student standing looking directly at them. Without wasting time, the mission leader tells everyone to run inside to check the situation in there. Right as they cross the gates, the trio invades the darkness of the school with hearts pounding hard. But in the same second, giant black roots sprout from the ground, sealing the door and destroying any chance of return. Switching on the lantern alone in the darkness, the little protagonist realizes the team was separated and the communication bracelet has absolutely no signal. During the walk through the sinister corridor, he illuminates old mannequins and broken pieces scattered on the floor. Thanks to a suspicious presence in the shadows, the kid shines the light ahead and asks out loud who is hiding there. Facing the mountain of bizarre dolls, he finds nothing but junk lying around and dust. Focused on the mission, he hears a strange noise and clenches his fists, ready to beat down any demon. From behind, a giant shadow hand slowly approaches while he reflects that the place is giving him the creeps, and he needs to find the team urgently. About to touch his shoulder, a small trembling hand moves forward, trying to tug at the boy's clothes in the darkness. With the pure reflex of an assassin, the boy spins in fright and grabs the target's wrist with brute force. To the kid's surprise, the one who had been trying to get his attention was just a sobbing little girl. Sobbing with a light stick in her hand, the little schoolgirl begs the man to take her safely back home. Through the bracelet scan, the system detects no life signs, proving to the boy that the girl is not a mutant beast but a pure ghost. Keeping his calm, the protagonist crouches down and asks the little one her name and how she ended up lost in that hell. Trembling with fear, the little one explains the class was in science class when they came face to face with a terrifying monster from the beyond. Straight to the point, the boy asks where the other children who ran with her in the attack went. To point to the end of the dark corridor, the little ghost says the apparition grabbed her friends and dragged everyone into that macabre room. Trapped in the darkness of the corridor, the blonde Leishan yells for his team partners, trying to find someone. Suddenly, a bizarre nursery rhyme sound echoes in the air, catching his attention. Pushing the classroom door, he enters with his lantern to investigate the noise. Inside, the scene is macabre, with several children floating and the little Ling Yu in the middle of them. In pure fright, the swordsman screams the girl's name desperately. Immediately, the ghost children spin their necks with glowing eyes and demonic smiles. Without thinking twice, the blonde draws his sword and sends an energy slash, tearing the entire room. With the impact, several shadowy roots fall to the floor, revealing the illusion. Soon he grabs the passed out girl, shaking the little one to wake her up. With half-closed eyes, the girl displays a vacant and slightly sinister look. With a gentle voice, she asks if it's the teammate who's there saving her. In a perfect act, the little one cowers, asking how she ended up in that scary place. To calm the girl, Leishan guarantees she just bumped into the ghost and tells her not to be afraid. With a confident smile, the swordsman warns he already chased away the apparition and will protect his friend. At that moment, the girl leaps into a tight hug, whispering with a macabre face that he can never ever leave. Totally red, the blonde falls for it and swears he will stay by her side forever. Behind his head, the fake Ling Yu opens a monstrous smile, agreeing with the promise. In the blink of an eye, the girl's body transforms into a tangle of black tentacles that wrap around the guy. Caught off guard, Leishan lets out a scream of terror while the vines squeeze his neck. Quickly, the creature consumes the swordsman, making him disappear into the ceiling's darkness. Meanwhile, slow footsteps break the silence in another school corridor. Step by step, the real Ling Yu tries to find an exit with her lantern. With the communicator silent, the girl panics, not knowing how to find the captain or her partners. Out of nowhere, a silhouette appears, and the protagonist shows up, saying he finally found her. But a second Lu Xing sprouts right behind, completely shocking the little one with the clones. Full of anger, the first protagonist accuses the other of being an imposter and demands the deception end now. With no patience for chit-chat, the kid already goes on the attack with a hate-charged punch. At the moment of impact, the clone blocks the blow, proving the apparition has actual physical strength. With a quick pull, the first protagonist tells her to hide, swearing total protection. At that moment, the second boy melts his human form and turns into a giant monster of roots, swearing he is the original. Jumping back, Ling Yu activates a pink aura in her hands and accuses both of being fakes. Very seriously, the girl reveals she has telepathy and can hear thoughts, but doesn't understand the monster's language. Together, both fake protagonists assume a bizarre plant shape, claiming they are completely real. In thought, the girl remembers her mutant pig friend, proving her own connection with the beasts. With her powers activated, the little one explains that her mutation allows her to read minds, but those roots have no animal or human soul. In a brutal attack, the vines fire from the ceiling, mocking the girl with the allies' fake faces. By a hair, the little one dodges and screams her battle mascot's name at the top of her lungs. In a crash on the ceiling, a giant spiny boar falls, warning that dinner time has arrived. In a colossal stampede, the beast crushes the root illusions, sweeping the entire room with pure brute force. Imposing, the mutant boar glares menacingly at the enemies, protecting his owner. Far from the confusion, the real protagonist escorts the ghost student to a sinister hideout. Facing a dark root crater, the kid observes the entrance to the creature's lair. Clinging to his shirt, the little ghost begs him to go down and save the friends swallowed by the hole. With his magic sword in hand, the boy advances, slicing the spines from his path with lethal blue lightning. Due to the radar analysis, he confirms that the girl beside him has no soul signature at all and isn't human either. Cold and calculating, the kid understands the apparition is not an enemy, but had a special reason for guiding him there. To avoid traps, the boy projects his own bright soul in the format of a light warrior directly into the black hole. Upon landing in the cavern's depths, the avatar flags several root cocoons hanging like a slaughterhouse. At the same moment, a massive wooden guardian charges the spirit with heavy blows. Without retreating, the avatar swings the energy sword and fires a giant shockwave. Like lightning, the blue burst slices the monster and the cavern's ceiling in a clean move. With the impact, the cocoons fall and one of them breaks free, releasing the blonde partner. Blaming his own stupidity, Lishan crashes to the floor coughing after almost becoming compost. Straight to the point, the avatar warns they are inside the belly of the beast, and tells the guy to look for the true core to destroy the threat. In pure panic, the blonde thinks the protagonist died and became a ghost, but the boy quickly explains it's just an astral projection power. Connecting the dots, Lishan deduces the little girl must also be trapped around there since the entire team got caught. Before finishing the conversation, the spirit points into the darkness, noticing a bizarre movement. From the shadows, the cut roots reunite, forming an even bigger and more intimidating version of the creature. To make things worse, the beast steals the prey's memories and launches a lightning spell identical to the protagonist's. On the other side, the forest shakes when the monster also copies Ling Yu's boar, proving it can mimic the entire group. Back in the confusion, Lishan runs from the real boar and desperately asks where this giant spiny pig came from. Mounted on the beast, Ling Yu smiles in relief and introduces the big pet as her faithful companion. Far from the battle, a mysterious figure with a body made of galaxies floats above the immensity of the forest. With blue energy pulsing in his hands, the stellar villain celebrates that all the nutrients finally fell into the trap. With a sadistic smile, the cosmic entity decrees that the main ritual can now begin. Immediately, the entire building starts shrinking, crushing the blonde, the girl, and the boar between the overgrown walls. Through the suffocating squeeze, the team discovers in the worst way that the abandoned school was literally the monster's own body. Above the trees, the villain reveals he spent decades cultivating the nuclear tree with human flesh just for this exact moment. Through an aerial view, the entire forest reveals itself as a single giant parasite sucking the blood of anyone who enters there. With a fleshy fruit in hand, the cosmic being drools, imagining the taste of the concentrated power. Because of his own injected magic, the man explains that the tree dies fast but generates dozens of fruits at once thanks to the radiation. In a disgusting spectacle, the roots create a plantation of flesh brains hanging like ripe apples. But the villain's joy doesn't last long as he notices the energy of the fruits suddenly starts failing. In a few seconds, the flesh fruits lose color, withering until they turn into lifeless gray stones. Completely rotten, the items fall from the branches, frustrating the demon's master plan out of nowhere. Enraged at the failure, the cosmic demon doesn't understand how the fruit's energy dried up so suddenly. In a violent explosion, the root base goes up in the air, launching blue light everywhere. Free from the deadly trap, the protagonist and team fly out together with the giant boar. Shocked at the escape, the villain wonders how a mere rank sea scavenger broke the nuclear tree's control. With a stylish landing, the boy charges his arm with celestial blue magic, ready for the fight. In the blink of an eye, a monstrous flash blinds the enemy, who is left with no understanding of the situation. Upon revealing a giant ice sword, the demon asks if the kid might be an evolved human. To clear the path, the hero launches the whip into the air to guarantee the team's escape. Mounted on the boar, the blonde and the little girl flee at full speed, while the leader tells them not to look back no matter what. Like a meteor, the stellar being descends into battle, directly exhaling a crushing aura. With an insane leap, the little protagonist attacks with the blue blade directly at the creature's face. In a head-on collision, the boy's weapon tears the cosmic entity's chest. Wounded by the blow, the villain admits surprise at being hurt by a low-rank nobody. With a sadistic smile, the creature finds the situation super interesting and praises the hidden talent of the guild. Preparing stellar flames, the monster demands to know the kid's true identity. With a colossal punch from the sky, the demon smashes everything, demanding the hero's real name right away. Immediately, the entire forest shakes with the lethal burst sweeping the ground. All broken, the little protagonist spits blood, realizing the guy's strength is absurd and he seems immortal. Full of pain, the boy remembers he already sent the distress signal to the captain as soon as he escaped the branch prison. But the math doesn't add up, since the boss will take about 2 hours to arrive and surviving until then is almost impossible. Completely surrounded by destruction, the warrior faces death head-on. As a last card, he pulls 2 magical talismans from his pocket and decides to risk everything on a new trick. Shouting the forbidden life swap spell, he invokes the crimson face and the blue blade. In a pillar of divine light, the hero brings the sacred spirit directly into the mortal realm, turbocharging his body to the limit. Facing the transformation, the villain smiles excited with the new form of the toy. To have a little fun, the cosmic being prepares his own magic aiming to continue the massacre. Like a missile, the monster attacks tearing through the air with stellar powers. With a divine reflex, the kid blocks the blow, startling the demon with the absurd speed of the defense. Noticing the hero's new weapon, the villain materializes an energy lance in his own hands. With the lance in the air, the stellar being charges forward, warning that the game is now even. At the moment of impact, the weapons collide, creating a deadly spark in the middle of the forest. Through a bizarre repulsion wave, the impact sends both combatants flying backward. Defending the attack, the enemy is baffled to notice that the talisman's magic is harder than pure steel. Knowing the technique's limit, the cosmic demon decides to finish the fight before the kid's spiritual battery runs out. Retreating in slime form, the monster admits it underestimated the scavenger's brute force. After piecing his own body back together, the boss concludes that the kid's power exploded out of nowhere. On the other side, the protagonist realizes the guy's regeneration is absurdly broken, tearing through space as if it were nothing. Focused on victory, he understands that the only real chance is to disintegrate the villain's body in one shot. Aware of the danger, the monster snaps his fingers, realizing that fighting the golden avatar alone is suicide. In a blue magic show, dozens of cosmic clones sprout in the air surrounding the boy. Without losing rhythm, the protagonist activates another shiny paper, invoking an army of golden cavalry. Above the shadows, the light knights fire like a steamroller against the clones. In the blink of an eye, the light crushes the darkness in a breathtaking divine explosion. Baffled by the destruction, the villain is completely horrified, watching the copies turn to dust. Back on the scorched ground, the boy proves his mystical arsenal has no end. Unfortunately, the energy hits its limit and the golden armor turns to smoke, leaving the boy exposed. Panting, the protagonist convinces himself he obliterated the stellar threat for good. Without strength in his legs, he falls to his knees, feeling the weight of excessive spell use. Completely drained, the hero passes out and collapses backward in the middle of the destroyed setting. In another part of the world, the eyeless ancestor's snake servant hunts the sect intruders but finds it strange that the trails simply vanished. Through the rubble, the mutant searches for any clue from the enemies in the dirt. Full of fear, she knows that returning empty-handed means lethal punishment from the supreme boss. Behind her, a bizarre old woman mounted on an insect asks if the Taoist has found the fleeing rats. From the rotten smell in the air, the old woman smiles macabrely, warning she detected the scent of fresh prey. By her side, a fat zombie with eyes all over his body drools, affirming it is the smell of a woman. Like deadly frogs, the monster lackeys prepare the ambush, jumping in the air. Facing the attack, the Taoist snake draws her weapon, shocked by the unexpected presence. In a bloodbath, the fat monster's head is decapitated with a single lightning blow. To reveal the real threat, the insect old woman laughs, saying the female prey was really hiding there. With a talisman stuck to her face, the zombie assassin displays a devilish smile and warns she only came to slice the ancestor's servants. Far from the servant hunt, the protagonist floats paralyzed in a cosmic dimension, captured by the villain who survived. In a sigh of relief, the blue demon celebrates the peace, affirming he only wanted to harvest the fruits and didn't expect so much trouble. To understand the hero's level, the entity decides to rummage through the passed out boy's mind. Through the thoughts, the monster sees only an orphan scavenger, finding the kid's life completely uninteresting. Suddenly, the villain's expression changes upon noticing a secret lock in the boy's brain. In shock, he discovers the cultivation world memories and doesn't understand their origin. Before the visions of dead gods and colossal demons, the cosmic being trembles, facing the terrifying scene. Soon, the vision of the golden Buddha crushing evil proves that the hero's power definitely doesn't belong to the desolate land. In a maniacal laugh, the villain finds the discovery completely fascinating. On the other hand, reason speaks louder, and he realizes that letting the kid grow will ruin the plan to return to the world of origin. With a lethal claw ready, the monster decides to exterminate the subject before he gets too strong. Right at the second of the deadly blow, the pocket dimension shatters like glass. Invading the space, the captain smashes the barrier barehanded and demands the demon release the boy immediately. Stunned by the woman's ignorance, the villain is left without reaction, seeing she broke the spell with nothing but the brute force of her voice. With an intimidating pose, the heroine of rank S warns that the hunt for the stellar monster ends right here. With an absurd punch, the heroine shatters the villain's ice barrier, while the boy celebrates that the help finally arrived right on time. With a monstrous crash, the punch impact spreads a golden shockwave across the entire battlefield. Nearly unconscious, the protagonist falls through the air, feeling his body fail from extreme exhaustion and magic drain. In a quick rescue, the pink-haired woman grabs the kid, demanding he wake up and wanting to know if everything is fine. Half-dazed, the warrior opens his eyes and warns he's in one piece, but laments being too weak to finish the immortal wretch. Stunned by the information, the fighter widens her eyes, wondering if the immortality legend is really true. Soon from the bright waters, the cosmic demon resurfaces, smiling and showing that his regeneration is absurdly broken. Trapped in colossal roots, the stellar being begins to float along with the disgusting brain-shaped fruits. Furious, the boss screams, telling the coward not to run, and already leaps on top with the armed protagonist right behind, ready for the attack. Without giving a chance for combat, the monster escapes through a dimensional portal, dropping the bizarre fruits along the way. Heavy and full of malevolent energy, the flesh balls crash scattered all over the forest floor. Mounted on the giant boar, the blonde partner screams, desperately asking if the hero survived the heavy mess. Straight to the point, the protagonist guarantees the youngsters are safe, and the blonde points, shocked at the huge fruit on the floor without understanding where it came from. In the situation summary, the kid reveals that the plant kidnaps humans precisely to produce those sick energy fruits. With no patience for mystery, the captain decrees that if the thing is the cause of problems, the best solution is to smash everything barehanded. After landing the punch, the woman retreats in pain, realizing the fruit's shell is harder than pure steel. Very far away, the cosmic villain lands in a dark and bizarre dimension full of floating rocks. Crossing the portal, the 7 flesh fruits fall along with the blue demon into the isolated and dead territory. On impact with the soil, the macabre balls roll across the rock, releasing a pure radiation aura. In a sigh of relief, the monster mutters he almost got sliced by surprise by the human hunters. From the shadows, a sinister voice asks the reason for the delay, revealing it was already thinking the worst had happened to the brother. Imposing in a black cloak, the mysterious figure asks if the plan was a success, and if the nuclear tree harvest is in hand. With head bowed, the blue villain confesses he only managed to save 7 units because he crossed paths with 2 very problematic hunters along the way. Lifting the fruits with magic, the leader praises the effort, reminding that only the brother can travel through the seal, and demands more believers for the final escape plan. With a brutal squeeze, the boss smashes the flesh and absorbs the red energy, feeling the ancient strength slowly return to his body. After sucking the fruit's core, he stares at the remains and states that amount of magic doesn't even come close to the necessary limit. Full of hatred, the leader in Ying decrees he will restore his own supreme power and guide the entire army out of that prison directly into the human world. Back to civilization, a giant and super technological skyscraper pierces the clouds, marking the main headquarters of the Scavengers Guild. In a fancy room, the world's biggest and strongest warriors gather around a long table. In the boss chair, the little boy president complains he called the secret meeting because of a severe crisis, but notices half the team didn't even bother to show up. Lounging in his chair, a ranks warrior finds it annoying about the last-minute notice, arguing that everyone there is too busy keeping the planet's peace. With a cup of tea in hand, the bearded chubby man mocks, pointing out the only occupation of the red-haired playboy was some encounter at a bar. Hugging a beauty on each side, the womanizer smiles slyly, defending himself, saying he was only sucking energy to recharge his own skill. Right beside them, the pink-haired heroine snores with her mouth open, drooling on the meeting table and completely ignoring the suit wearer's mess. Sighing with exhaustion, the president tells the gang not to wake the woman and asks for full focus to continue the agenda. With a somber look, the boy reveals the critical information, warning that the supreme villain in Ying is almost breaking through the sealed land's barrier for good. Faced with the heavy news, the entire room freezes, and the strongest human hunters narrow their eyes at the same moment. Slamming the table, the white-armored knight swears he spent the last year's training just for this moment and promises to annihilate the demon forever. Mocking the stress, the red-haired rookie wants to know what makes this so-called villain so special, and if the guy is really all that cold and aggressive. The masked mercenary tells the playboy to shut up, affirming that if everyone there attacked together, the monster would still turn them all to dust. Startled by the brutal comparison, the redhead stutters, asking if the guild's chance of victory against the beast is literally 0. Pointing a finger at the ceiling, the president denies total defeat, but admits the salvation options are nothing good for the human side. In thought, the young leader recalls the scavenger boy fighting in the desert and the absurd golden power the kid carries. Confident in the golden visual of the hero, the president bets that the little protagonist could be the magical key piece to the final victory. Very far from the bureaucracy, The kid hands over the bizarre fruit in a secret underground laboratory and receives the science team's thanks. Dismissing the ceremony, the protagonist says it's always a pleasure working together and already asks the doctor what the true nature of that fruit is. Adjusting her glasses, the woman admits she has no certainty since it's the first botanical mutation in the desert, but warns the thing has developed its own consciousness. Focused on the glass, the little green snake girl reveals without beating around the bush that is none other than the fruit of a nuclear tree. Confused about the concept, the scientist asks the little girl to explain exactly what she is talking about. With a serious face, the little one details that the plant is a vegetable mutant beast that evolves absurdly fast right from the seed stage. Describing the macabre legend, the girl recounts that the mutation requires the sacrifice of an entire forest for energy and the process takes centuries. Focusing on the ball trapped in the tank, she warns that the vital energy condenses in the fruit and the beast's final form is dormant inside. Suspicious, the boy asks where the mascot learned so much wild scientific theory, but deep down knows the story lines up perfectly with what he saw. With her hands on her own head, the child cries, warning that the information just sprouted in her mind, and she suspects it's an inherited memory from her father. Interrupting the revelation, the doctor points at the tank, screaming that the strong blue light indicates the immediate awakening of the disgusting creature. At that same moment, inside the spiritual cultivation world, the snake woman gets startled when an invisible presence locks onto her. In a merciless attack, a white whip rips the mutant snake out by the hair with a colossal force. With a smile from ear to ear, the zombie sorceress commands her summoned servant to slice the intruder's soul. In a supersonic dive from the sky, the little undead monster advances, covered in magical papers all over her body. Like a machine gun, the zombie fires bursts of cutting energy, tearing the entire forest and putting the snake on the run. Noticing the red light of the attack, the snake mutant smirks, underestimating the force of the blow. But in an explosion of blood and fury, the zombie servant retaliates, annihilating the enemy's defense in a bloodbath of black magic. Terrified, the snake woman barely believes the ghost was obliterated in a single blow and suspects the creature is the legendary flying zombie. Laughing at the enemy's panicked face, the yellow-clad sorceress floats down and warns her bodyguard is no common corpse. In the undead lesson, the witch lists that zombies are ranked in white, black, jumper, and flyer, but the little one there ignores the system entirely. Full of attitude, the girl decrees the little zombie is simply the absolute king of all known abominations, called Manhwa. Smashed to the ground in despair, the snake mutant laments, having gone to the sect just to recover the stolen rings and now bumped into certain death. Turning into white smoke out of cowardice, the woman prefers to return empty, handed to the boss, than lose her life sliced up by the zombie. Frustrated at the target's disappearance, the yellow witch clicks her tongue, complaining the reaction for the kill was too slow. Pocketing the golden rings left behind, she celebrates the luxury prize, affirming the magical foundation will be the perfect gift for the master. Without warning, the woman yells, fighting with the mascot and demanding the reason the creature keeps growling at nothing in the middle of the rocks. Breaking the ground with a deafening roar, the blind master's giant centipede appears, furious and armed, proving that the trouble barely started. Cutting to the modern apocalyptic world, the sound of frantic strikes echoes from a fighting arcade game on the living room TV. With the controller mashed, the captain throws a tantrum, screaming the little mutant girl beat her easily and begs to switch the game to car racing. With the broom in hand, the protagonist hears the commotion and finds it great to change games, but makes a point of reminding them the deal was for the little girl to do the house cleaning. To agree with the little girl, the captain affirms that her chore is precisely playing video games all day. In a sigh of exhaustion, the little protagonist sweeps the floor, thinking that bringing the girl back was a huge mistake. Because of the tight finances, he grumbles that the 4,000 from the mission doesn't cover the new weapons, and the magic crystals are way too expensive. Determined to change the situation, the kid clenches his fist, affirming he needs to find an alternative way to get spirit stones. To grab his attention, the little green snake reveals she knows a place in the desert loaded with those shiny stones. Surprised by the information, the protagonist opens his eyes wide, asking if a paradise like that really exists. A little while later, the hero already cuts across the skies, flying straight to the feared ravine of chaos. Tearing through the windstorm with his sword, he admits he never imagined finding pure magic in a cursed desert. Guided by the mascot's tips, the boy passes stealthily by a nest infested with colossal mutant snakes. Before a labyrinth of caves, the kid summons dozens of astral clones to explore the safe path. After a full day of intense searching, one of the blue avatars finally finds the target. Shocked by the vision, the hero discovers a colossal cave that is literally a paradise of green nuclear crystals. With a huge smile, He realizes there are way too many stones to carry and plans how to transport the fortune to the base. Suddenly, a huge purple summoning circle illuminates the cave, catching the boy completely by surprise. In the middle of the magical light, a mysterious girl in a witch hat and glasses appears floating in the air. With the magic stabilized, the little witch lands and the protagonist recognizes the figure immediately. In thought, he recalls that the girl is Mo Ling, the most famous rank scavenger of the new generation. In a quick move, the sorceress leaps backward, already preparing a powerful attack spell. Confused by the hostility, the kid wonders what a guild star is doing in a hole like that. Meanwhile, in the spiritual world, the snake woman gets launched with brutality by a lethal red ray. Destroying the stone floor, the ancestor's giant demonic centipede advances, ready to devour everyone. With its gaping jaw, the monstrous beast unleashes a deafening roar, showing its blind fangs. Maintaining her composure, the yellow zombie sorceress evaluates that the enemy's splitting technique won't hold up in a prolonged fight. With a bite on her own finger, the undead sorceress decides she needs to finish the battle in a single blow to not end up as dinner. Through a blood seal in the air, she invokes her supreme ability to see the monster's hidden weakness. In a golden energy explosion, the mystical third eye opens on the girl's forehead, glowing bright. Analyzing the beast in motion, she finally finds the perfect blind spot right in the middle of the giant insect's back. In the control bell's swing, the witch gives the maximum order for the zombie servant to attack directly at the marked target. Ready to obey, the little abomination covered in seals dives from the sky like a guided missile of pure evil. With a rip through the thick shell, the flying zombie tears the creature's flesh, scattering black blood everywhere. In a perfect execution, the red energy sword cuts the giant monster from end to end without mercy. Completely split in two, the colossal beast's body falls lifeless, shaking the ravine floor. In a victory mood, the little zombie assassin strikes a proud pose on top of the disgusting carcass. Relieved with the end of the fight, the yellow sorceress takes a deep breath, wiping cold sweat from her face. In a relieved tone, the woman confirms that the infernal threat finally turned to dust and won't bother anyone again. In a joy leap, the undead mascot jumps into the owner's arms, who holds her with all the affection in the world. Without wasting time, the duo leaps into the air, fleeing the crime scene at full speed before the beast's owner appears. Already at the sect's base, the butterfly servants observe the sky and notice the warrior companion just returned from the mission. Upon crossing the sanctuary's magical barrier, the zombie sorceress lands directly in the main courtyard, raising dust. In a desperate run, a little sect boy props up the woman, who faints from exhaustion with her aura nearly zeroed. Spitting blood, she explains she burned her own life expectancy to invoke the celestial eye and kill the enemy pest. Tense, the kid warns that the ancestral master disappeared, and the other members are injured, leaving only him to hold the fort. Ready to heal, the little healer projects a green light, saying fighting isn't his thing, but medical spells are pure easy. Like an instant miracle, a giant magical lotus blossoms in the air, emanating pure vital recovery energy. Showering golden pollen, the sacred flower bathes the woman's body, healing all serious injuries at that very moment. Invigorated by the mystical spell, the yellow sorceress gets up off the ground, brimming with health and full strength. In a light flight, she smiles, surprised, affirming the energy is hitting stronger than on the day she resurrected from the cauldron. With a pointed finger, the little healer warns that the miraculous magic has a limit, and using it again will cause a lethal rebound effect. Concerned, the woman alerts that the hideout was discovered, and if the enemy sends another horde, they will all be finished for good. In a cold sweat, the kid reinforces that the main leader is still focused on cultivation, and the team needs to defend the base until he wakes. With a malicious look, the witch suggests using the dual cultivation method to forcibly accelerate the leader's training. Back in the desert, the little witch Mo Ling finalizes the purple summoning circle surrounded by green crystals. In a violent flash, a giant magical sword descends from the sky, embedding directly in the cavern floor. Right after, a talking marmot in glasses tumbles out of the portal, screaming for the owner to wait for him. Hidden among the rocks, the protagonist's avatar finds it insane that the girl uses dimensional magic and still has a bizarre talking creature. Determined not to start trouble, the blue ghost ties the bag of rocks and tries to sneak away from the place quietly. By pure bad luck, the kid steps wrong and cracks a stone on the floor, immediately drawing the magical doe's attention. Spinning on her heels, the sorceress points the sword at the target and shouts the stellar explosion order right on the spot. In a deafening crash, a purple burst vaporizes the rocks where the gossipy avatar was hiding. With hands raised in surrender, the blue spirit smiles nervously, asking for calm and swearing they are on the same side. 10 minutes later, the real protagonist is already face to face with the girl, having explained the whole story to avoid being killed. Putting her weapon away, the The little witch understands that the blue ghost was just a harmless clone, and the hero confirms the special trick. Sitting on a rock, the sorceress tells the kid to grab his money and disappear from the cave as fast as possible. With a killer look, the girl threatens to erase the protagonist from existence if he opens his mouth about what he saw happen there. In a desperate escape with the bag on his back, the hero swears with both hands he has already completely forgotten everything. Outraged, the talking marmot scolds the owner, asking why on earth she let the little thief run off with the fortune. Without paying attention to the irritated creature, the little witch raises her staff, beginning to channel the environment's raw energy. In a storm of pure power, thousands of nuclear crystals begin spinning in a green tornado around the woman. Shouting the leap spell, the dimensional circle lights up at maximum levels, sucking in the magic stones to charge the blow. With an impeccable look floating in the air, the sorceress proves her power level borders on the limit of the gods. Impressed by the light show, the bespectacled rodent celebrates that the master's magic jumped category one more time. From the sky, the girl agrees with the creature but laments torching all the supply of clean energy in the evolution process. In the swing of the blade with confidence, she decides she will invade the demonic realm to steal more resources barehanded. Already slicing enemy shadows in another dimension, the hunter focuses on eliminating all the pests trying to block the path. Hidden from afar, the little protagonist holds his loot, wondering who these pests are and what kind of insane demonic realm the madwoman invented to attack. Diving into the depths, the hero tears through the clouds, flying firm on his magic sword toward the unknown. With a thud, he lands on the rock, but almost has a heart attack when dozens of spiritual chains start wrapping around his body. Startled, the protagonist demands to know what is going on while the sect girls gather around him with malicious looks. Bound, the kid argues, demanding an explanation for why the entire team of beauties is there invading his training space. Straight to the point, the platinum dragon grabs the master's arm and points into the air, warning that the emergency requires his presence. Excited, the pink-haired horned girl takes the lead, announcing the next phase of the sect's reconstruction plan. Explaining the mess, the woman warns that the hideout was discovered, and the blind ancestral will knock on their door at any moment. Getting closer, the blue dragon and the blonde sorceress agree and beg the master to use the immortal pills at once. Smiling slyly, the little flying witch promises to turbocharge the master's training, assuming control of the situation through couples cultivation. With the Forger's help, the disciples combine spells and create a giant golden seal, putting the theory into practice and pulling the boy. In an explosion of power, the mystical pill turns into pure light, enveloping everyone, and the kid finally understands that the team's intentions are only to help. Forming the light in the shape of a magical egg, the horned warrior warns this is the legendary golden lizard technique of resurrection. Excited by the explanation, the hero calculates the massive increase and celebrates that the pill combo with the spell will multiply strength at least 9-fold. Pressed against his chest, the snake woman warns the leader to focus on the process, because time is running out and the gang needs to act fast to save the base. Without stalling, the platinum dragon leads the line of disciples, floating through the blue flames, screaming she will be the first to transfer her cultivation to the master in the middle of the pure energy. Wrapped in a pure magical and heat aura, the main disciple presses close to the protagonist, complaining of the high temperature while delivering her essence. In a breathtaking sequence, the other girls dive through the pillar of light, repeating the mystical ritual and donating part of their own spiritual force to the boy. Completely renewed by energy, the warrior emerges, floating in the air, wearing the celestial cultivation realm's clothes and glowing like a star. Before the sacred sword and the blazing golden core, he assesses the scene, impressed, and wonders if that is his own mental space. From the cosmic flames, the sect's ancestral leader emerges, answering that all of that is the result of breaking the seal and creating the perfect core. Reverently, the boy faces the golden legend and already deduces he is before the sect's great original creator. Imposing in divine vestments, the ancestor confirms the theory, smiling proudly at the current leader's absurd progress. Full of respect, the protagonist raises his fists in a traditional greeting and thanks the heavens that the ancient master continues to exist. Explaining the situation, the figure of light pours cold water on the kid's excitement, saying that is just a small piece of soul kept inside the bracelet. With a warm look, the old man reassures the hero, guaranteeing that the residual soul has no chance of disappearing anytime soon. Floating before the light weapons, the sage says the successor's skills have surpassed all his wildest expectations. Straight to business, the ancestral master warns that due to extreme aptitude, he will pass the advanced lessons to the boy to learn and practice right now. Channeling the ancient knowledge, The legend promises that with this power the young master will crush the imminent crisis of the zombie leader. In a thundering explosion, the transfer completes, engulfing both in a sea of wisdom and heavy celestial spells. Back in the fire pillar in reality, the protagonist pours energy through his hands and is impressed, feeling his own body 1,000 times lighter and more overpowered. Excited by the absurd aura, the sect beauties celebrate that the leader broke through the barriers and has firmly stepped into the golden core level. With an analytical stance, the flute girl agrees and warns that their cultivation also exploded, but the fight against the blind monster won't be a walk in the park. Mocking the danger, the protagonist ignites the flames and warns the team also has several hidden cards up its sleeve for the imminent battle. Far away in dungeon level 5, the bizarre landscape of the Blackbone Cave smells of sulfur and dread. Immersed in adventure, the little witch Moling advances with light steps, surrounded by magical circles ready to attack. Alerted by the rat assistant, the girl stops, hearing that the horde of shadow skulls is finally starting the rebirth process. Closing her face, the woman refuses the retreat warnings and swears the time to leave hasn't come and the exploration will continue. In a flashback, the sorceress confesses she hides a wild secret since she awakened the power to open magical rifts when she was just a small child. Using this portal magic, the little girl escaped to other dimensions, seeking challenges and resources for her skills to grow beyond the other hunters. Focused on the present, the Ranks warrior admits that after a full decade fighting in the sick world, she barely reached the 5th floor of the infernal dungeon. Wrapped in purple flames, the witch swears she needs to stay alive no matter what and get strong enough to pull clues about her own mother's whereabouts. Without lowering her guard, she explains that in the past her mother leaped through a magical portal identical to hers and vanished in the desolate land, so she never retreats for anything. Mocking the dimensions system, the girl notes that each descent to a deeper level practically doubles the monstrous strength of the disgusting beasties. Nearby, the skeletons are reborn with emerald flames glowing in their dry bones and marching directly toward where the sorceress is. With her hand on her staff, the warrior huffs, remembering she has already massacred the bony pest about 4 times, and the creatures always come back more muscular and furious. Observing the evil horde, the witch adjusts her hat and says with a confident smile that the creature's persistence is exactly what she wanted from the start. In a dirty surprise attack, a skeleton hurls a spiked shield directly at the girl's back and the rat mascot screams the death alert. In a perfect dodge, she uses the cape to avoid the airborne attack, understanding that their resurrection power must have a hidden source. Drawing the magic through the air, the woman fires an electric burst, calling on the name of the lightning chain spell. Like an earthquake, the lightning connects all the Skull Army members, frying the pests into green dust all at once. Cold and analytical, the adventurer strolls through the sea of pulverized bones, grumbling that the king only appears after wiping out all of the place's minions. Disappointed, she notices that on the 1st floor the dead dropped magic crystals, but here they don't even give X before trying to resurrect again. Out of nowhere, the phantom bonfire intensifies and the bone dust floats, regrouping the bizarre troop at a ridiculous speed. Facing the nightmare, the sorceress realizes the armors are evolving, and worse, the green fire seems to cancel the electric magical damage. Mocking the challenge, the woman warns the creatures became the perfect guinea pigs to test the newest witchcraft that just leveled up. Leaning on her glowing staff, the goddess of ice invokes the sacred technique, asking for the strength of the ancient snowy ancestors from the other universe. Desperate, the little rat mascot screams, telling the skeleton pest not to get close while preparing a strike. With arms open, the witch invokes the frozen flood, exploding the spell that transforms the entire corridor into absolute zero. Immediately, the cold wave transforms the hundreds of running skulls into ice blocks scattered through the dark cave. Celebrating on the ice, the marmot points to the prizes, saying that for the first time the magic crystals fell, seeming to come straight from a lucky roulette. Taking a jewel, the sorceress notices the nuclear crystals are identical to those dropped by the desert monsters, proving the energy is the same. Brooding on the parallel, she recalls the scavenger boy, suspecting he's hiding a wild secret to not turncoat to the evil side. With the cave shaking, she pockets the loot, startled because a demonic mist warns the skulls are resurfacing beneath the snow. Without surprise, the woman faces the profane wind blowing through the scenario and declares the true phase boss finally decided to show its face. Joining the bone scraps off the floor, a decrepit titan with flames in its eye sockets is born, combining the body of all the defeated skeletons. Facing the living wall, the girl understands this skull lord decided to cause trouble by joining forces to become the dungeon's definitive monster. Using the massive shield, the lord lands a blow that almost hits the heroine's face, provoking panic in the visionary marmot. Pulling the solar barrier seal, She deflects the colossal scythe in an impenetrable golden shield, showing total combat control. Smashing the Titan's defenses with the cutting mirror spell, the witch stacks light blows while retreating through the air to avoid the counterattack splatter. To not lose the timing, the woman's illusion copies spin, slicing parts of the gigantic creature to try to paralyze the villain's movement. Feeling the magic drain away, the witch decides the stalling is over and joins her fingers, launching the chains and lightning in a wild combo. Mixing electric magic, ice prison, and wind slashes, the girl fires the entire arsenal, breaking the heavy armor and bringing down the enormous creature. Faced with the ineffective charge, the warrior shocks her own mind, realizing the deadly spells simply deflect off the shell like ping-pong, changing her face to an insane smile. The woman raises her head, affirming a shielded monster only makes the hunt much more thrilling. Floating and conjuring the staff again, she tells the rat to get out because the ancient boss souls are coming into the field to give a big hand with the kill. To summon the heavy squad, the little witch floats glowing and calls the true kings back to the battlefield. In the middle of the purple glow, the demon queen, the supreme slime, and the furious goblin appear, ready to crush the Skull Lord. Right away, the monstrous summons grab the Bone Titan with no chance of defense. With a punch right in the boss's face, the giant goblin proves the team's brute force is absurd. However, in a quick move, the Skull Lord swings his sword, ripping the goblin's chest in half. Spinning the deadly blade, the bone beast slices the other summons, turning the witch's defense into mincemeat. Seeing the damage, the sorceress warns the mascot that the magic has a time limit and they need to finish soon. Desperate, the bespectacled little rat screams at the owner to stop playing around because he is just a creature of emotional support. With a confident smile, the woman guarantees the strategy is serious and activates the new boost technique. In a golden fire explosion, the Beast Awakening spell hits the mascot, promising to break the creature's chains. Bathed by the mystical energy, the small fuzzy rodent begins to grow in the blink of an eye. Assuming the form of a giant spirit bear, the former little rat now displays deadly claws and fangs. Full of fury, the muscular bear advances, roaring into combat directly under the master's command. On pure punching power, the furry monster smashes the skull giant's face with a thunderous punch. Dragged by the impact, the Bone Titan tries to defend itself from the summon's overwhelming attack. With the opening created, the giant slime returns to combat, grabbing the bone beast from behind. During the wild charge, the bear leaps off the rocks, crashing down like a meteor on the enemy. With a nuclear impact, the blow shatters the boss's bones, scattering dust throughout the entire cave. Roaring with victory, the furry beast rips the Titan's flaming head off and raises it as a trophy, but the severed head glows with emerald flames, escaping the bear's claws at the same moment. Furious, the giant fuzzy one faces the flying skull, noticing the pest still hasn't died. Understanding the mechanic, the little witch warns that as long as the head stays intact, the creature will resurrect infinitely. Without wasting time, the bear fires another heavy punch, trying to smash the skull in mid-air. Straight from the eyes, the skull fires a green energy laser, sweeping the bear far away. Caught off guard, the laser also obliterates the Flower Queen and the goblin, destroying the support team. Shocked by the power, the sorceress deduces that the skull sucks the energy from the other defeated bosses. In a storm of magic, the Lord resurfaces, even more dangerous, fusing the powers of the underground bosses. Grinding her teeth, the spirit beast calls the trick a dirty move and prepares for the final round. Resolved to win, the witch asks the bear to use the super power potion and hold the creature for just 1 minute. Sweating cold, the spirit beast widens its eyes, asking if the owner really plans to activate that suicidal technique. Beating its chest, the bear guarantees it will hold the front line to the bitter end. With blood in its eyes, the mascot activates Fury Mode, releasing a brutal red aura. Tearing its own throat in a roar, the beast boils with power, breaking the ground with just the pressure of the energy. Going head-on, the muscular bear locks hands directly with the Bone Titan in a test of brute strength. Face to face with death, the animal doesn't retreat a single millimeter while the enemy's bones crack. Far from the hand-to-hand combat, the sorceress recites the supreme incantation, calling on the Valkyrie's devotion. By gathering a colossal amount of ancient magic, the woman warns that the summoning takes time to charge. Wrapped in a cocoon of light, the girl assumes the celestial armor, gaining golden wings and a divine lance. Floating majestically, she explains that the mortal body itself can only maintain this goddess form for a mere 10 seconds. Flying like a comet of light, the winged hunter dives to apply the final blow, while the partner pins the target. Making things worse, the skull boss activates its own evolution and smashes the bear to the ground with overwhelming force. Out of energy, the giant returns to being a mere chubby little rat, dropping to the ground exhausted. Completely free, the monster realizes the mascot's transformation time limit expired at the worst moment. Flying mid-attack, the winged goddess curses her own luck, remembering she forgot to calculate the pet's time. With no way to brake, the Valkyrie decides to bet everything on the collision, since dodging from that distance is impossible. With bizarre agility, the giant monster dodges to the side, escaping the deadly light ray. Hitting only the ground, the divine lance pierces the rock, creating a massive crater. Facing the skull's escape, the woman loses the transformation and the golden armor turns to dust in the air. Exhausted and in free fall, the sorceress realizes her energy completely zeroed out, leaving her defenseless. Without mercy, the Skull Lord brings down the giant bone, ready to crush the girl on the ground. In a thundering impact, the Titan's foot destroys the cavern base, raising an absurd smoke cloud. In a quick memory, the witch recalls that the boy's blue spiritual clone was hidden in her clothing. At the exact second of death, the protagonist's ghost pulls the woman out, saving the madwoman's life. Floating safe and sound, she calls the hero a pervert, wanting to know since when he was there spying. Far from there at the sect, the real protagonist opens his eyes, sensing the situation got dark on the clone's side. With his chin in hand, the warrior grumbles he only left the ghost there to track the stones and not to play the hero. Thoughtfully, the kid reveals the clone traveled clinging to the witch through the dimensional portal. Scratching his head, he admits diving into her neckline was the only way out, but now he's going to get the reputation of a creep. Interrupting the monologue, the horned girl appears flying, asking what is leaving the master so distracted. Turning his face, the protagonist points to a colossal black vine in the middle of the courtyard, noticing the bush grew way too fast. Looking at the dry branches, he finds it bizarre that the plant became an entire tree in less than a week but has no flower. Arriving beside him, the blue dragon explains that the ferment vine is still just a baby that needs more time. Detailing the past, she recounts that even in the magic-rich era the plant took centuries to sprout. Flying irritated, the horned warrior warns that all the remaining energy was already spent healing the team. With a closed face, the hero laments that the enemy is knocking at the door and they're out of spiritual ammunition. Grabbing the boy's arm, the blue-haired woman guarantees that the entire team will defend the leader with their own lives. Cutting the mood, the red dragon appears smiling and swears the sacred plant still has a chance to bloom. Confused, the Platinum Sister questions what genius idea the hot head came up with. Full of confidence, the red assassin states with absolute certainty she found the perfect solution to the problem. Getting very close to the master, she asks for more of those famous immortal pills he handed out last time. Without understanding anything, the kid opens his eyes wide, asking where she got the idea he has an immortal pill. Through mime, the redhead describes that the said pill was big and black and gave her an absurd energy spike in the last combat. In shock, the boy deduces the madman actually ate a nuclear fragmentation grenade and survived by sheer miracle. Connecting the dots, the hero realizes that the radioactive energy from the grenades works like pure magic in the plant. The scavenger remembers that old nuclear bombs are junk in the desert, and he can get an infinite arsenal cheaply. Staring at the giant tree, the little protagonist comments he never imagined that piece of scrap would be so useful in his life. With eyes blazing with fury, the horned girl charges up flame magic and screams, telling everything to explode without mercy. Immediately, a colossal fire explosion destroys the tree's roots, sweeping the entire surrounding scenario. In the shadows, the bizarre many-eyed hand villain mocks, asking if the servant also lost to the thieving kid. Floating in the dark, the insect woman defends herself, warning the boy wasn't fighting alone, and a new helper kept appearing every hour. Extending his macabre hand, the boss cuts the chat right away and warns he asked for neither apology nor explanation. In a brutal move, the villain's hand twists the creature without the slightest shred of pity, cracking her bones. Completely covered in darkness, the monster humiliates the lackeys, calling everyone useless trash that only knows how to pose. Covered by a terrifying purple aura, the Dark Master decrees it's time to personally resolve the problem. Like a phantasmal blur, the creature leaps over the sect gates, disappearing into the dark night. Far from there, in a futuristic laboratory full of containment tubes, the atmosphere is quite silent and sinister. Waking up suddenly inside the water, the stocky man is startled, realizing he is alive, and asks what bizarre place that is. Near the tank, a mysterious silhouette smiles, saying it waited a very long time to finally see the doctor wake up. Back in the forest, the smoke from the explosion settles, revealing the macabre tree intact and ready for trouble again. Shocked by the size of the problem, the little protagonist opens his eyes in disbelief that the creature survived. Analyzing the structure, the boy notices the aberration is identical to the nuclear tree from the apocalyptic world. Suddenly, the brain-shaped fruits glow green and fire lethal rays in the team's direction. Protecting the little girl, the red warrior is startled by the absurd speed and demands to know where the creature thinks it's going. Without wasting time, a brilliant chain spell is activated, tearing through the air to bind the airborne threat. Bound by the light cords, a little plant monster is completely immobilized and struggling in the air. Revealing its true face, the wood creature shows sharp teeth while trying to tear the magic by brute force. Holding the creature on the leash, the protagonist wonders if this ugly little beast is the great treasure of the legendary fruit. With a bead of sweat on her head, the blue dragon agrees that calling that wild weed a treasure is a serious exaggeration. Looking closely, the beauty concludes the creature seems a lot like a tree spirit, but with a completely different energy. Recalling the legends, she explains that the sacred plant takes centuries to give its first fruits and then releases dozens of seeds every 10 years. Inside these miraculous fruits, rare pills or extremely powerful spiritual beast cubs are always born. But once every century, a tree spirit is born that has human intelligence and can evolve without limit. Back to reality, the Platinum One mocks the tide, up little monster, saying it definitely doesn't look like anything intelligent. With her chin in hand, the redhead suspects the bizarre mutation happened because they injected a whole century's worth of energy into the plant all at once. Jumping off the rooftop, the zombie sorceress arrives in the area, warning she can talk to plants and will try to have a chat with the beast. Firing a green spell, the little boy focuses completely on the little monster, launching the feared growth ring curse. Screaming with fury, the wood creature begins to change, proving the aggressive face was just a hairy lie. Covered by an intense light, the spirit explains that the monster face was just a disguise to scare the unknown enemies. To everyone's surprise, the creature turns into a cute little plant girl, revealing herself to be an extremely rare and precious mutant spirit. In the modern world, the red alarm fires in the guild's secret laboratory while guards run desperately because of a biological entity. Pointing rifles into the darkness, the soldiers tremble in fear without understanding where the threat simply disappeared to. Without any warning, a wooden vine tears through a guard's chest directly in the darkness of the corridor. Completely pierced, the poor soul is lifted into the air, being drained until he becomes a hollow, dried shell. Immediately, a rain of deadly branches attacks the entire squad, wiping the shooters off the map. Fallen to the ground in full armor, the last security guard bites the dust without having the slightest chance to react to the massacre. In the shadows of the base, the monstrous wood silhouette displays eyes that glow, making clear that the true horror is only just beginning. Far from there, the sect team prepares for their greatest battle yet, knowing that the eyeless ancestral is finally on his way to settle the score. Completely in shock, the duo runs, smacking the dried out corpses scattered like trash across the floor. Drawing his sword, the blonde desperately asks what kind of infernal disaster managed to cause all that damage. Far from there, the main demon steps on a mountain of dead bodies, warning he followed the scent and finally found the little thief's hideout. Out of nowhere, a giant piece of wood flies through the air in the enemy's direction, ready to crush everything. Calm and calculating, the boss simply raises his hand, blocking the surprise attack without taking a single step back. With his purple eyes glowing, the villain deforms his face and mocks, asking if that is the only miserable welcome they have. In a bizarre move, the monster stretches his own body and goes on the attack with a lethal shadowy sword. Dripping with malevolent energy, the chief's macabre clone is already preparing to slice the sex heroes to ribbons. Immediately, the creature multiplies into several identical demons, surrounding the area and closing the siege. Gripping his sword, the protagonist is indignant, seeing that he doesn't die and still creates free copies on top of it. Pointing at the enemy, the zombie sorceress warns that is not the original body, but just a cheap puppet on strings. Ready to fight, the woman in yellow orders the mascot to act and warns she will turn the puppet into mincemeat right now. Like a machine gun, the little zombie advances, firing deadly red bursts, destroying the villain's illusions. Regenerating from the ashes, the purple demon fixes his eyes on the little shooter and orders the horde to kill her first. In a rain of lethal stakes, the darkness attacks the girl directly from every possible direction at once. With absurd agility, the blue zombie leaps through the air, dodging the spines to avoid becoming a pincushion on the battlefield. Without giving a rest, the clones go for close combat, crossing shadowy blades in the middle of the chaos. Stepping on the destroyed ground, the sadistic monster looks at the defenders and asks who will be the next victim of the carnage. Focused on the magic, the protagonist murmurs that the so-called blind ancestral is truly a tough nut to crack. Invoking maximum power, the kid points to the sky, activating the meteoric sword rain technique taught by the master. Dozens of golden celestial swords rain down from the clouds, crushing the demons at the same moment. Turning into purple smoke, the villain mocks, saying these useless blows only make the main body even stronger. Gathering the scattered energy, the monster raises his arms and decrees that the time has come for the kid to face the consequences. With a mocking smile on his face, The hero crosses his arms and asks if the guy really thinks he's gaining any power. Surrounded by the team beauties, the protagonist reveals he only used the weak attack to buy time and trap the creature in a perfect ambush. Completely shocked, the demon realizes the farce and discovers he was fighting magical illusions the whole time. Feeling his own strength vanish, the villain enters despair without understanding why his mana is drying up out of nowhere. Looking around, the creature notices it is trapped at the bottom of a gigantic furnace and begins to sweat cold. From outside, the kid warns that is the transformed divine cauldron and the original body's weakness has been discovered. Keeping his boss posture, the protagonist guarantees he doesn't need to kill the puppet if he can simply refine the guy alive in the forge. With energy glowing in her hand, the Platinum Dragon explains that the illusion show served perfectly to exhaust the target inside the cauldron. Ready for the final blow, the horned girl snaps her fingers and tells the forger to crank the fire to maximum. In an absurd explosion of celestial fire, the cauldron boils, melting all the evil and frying the demon without leaving even the dust behind. Mocking the situation, the purple demon claims that normal fire absolutely cannot refine him in any way. Suddenly the villain's face falls in terror when he realizes it is the true Samadhi fire and screams that he's done for. Back at the secret laboratory, the tank buff man asks who the masked guy is and wants to know the reason he was saved. Calmly, the blue, masked doctor says identity doesn't matter, but he saved the man's life because his talent is useful and he will collect a favor in return. Inconsolable, the patched-up warrior confesses he has become useless scrap and questions what he could possibly do in this situation. Pointing a glowing finger, the scientist goes straight for the weak spot, bringing up the woman the guy loves. Facing a second tank, the buff man goes into total shock upon seeing the silhouette of his beloved preserved inside. Screaming her name, the big man cries without understanding anything since he clearly remembers his wife already died. Straight to business, the masked one promises that if the big fellow cooperates he will restore his body and even bring the woman back to life. Completely won over by the promise, the warrior changes attitude on the spot and immediately asks what needs to be done. With a sinister smile under the mask, the doctor gives the mission demanding he find a way to copy the new human's abilities. Meanwhile, in a dark corridor, the little witch emerges from the shadows using shadow evasion magic with ease. Finding her target, the girl celebrates that she finally found the kid who is lying upside down unconscious on the couch. Back at the celestial furnace, the purple demon screams, cursing everything while being fried by the divine flames. In a final explosion of light, the magic hits its limit and the supreme flame is sucked back to the center of the cauldron. Worried about the result, the sect warriors ask if the leader managed to refine the ancestral monster once and for all. With a relieved smile, the horned girl shows something in her hand, saying she almost lost the item that got stuck at the bottom of the pot. Analyzing the glowing little ball, the hero thinks it looks like earwax, but the girl explains it's a purification pill made from the enemy clone's remains. Holding the jewel, the kid is frustrated, noticing that all that effort only produced about 30% of the villain's total power. Without wasting time, the female team starts bickering, with one suggesting attacking now and another warning that the remaining 70% is pure suicide. To calm the confusion, the blue dragon crosses her fingers and asks everyone to listen to the master's genius strategy first. But the supreme leader simply passed out in the middle of the huddle, snoring loudly and completely ignoring the team's crisis. Totally without reaction, the beauties get a drop of sweat on their heads, unable to believe the kid keeled over right in the middle of the strategic debate. Back in the real world, the little witch pokes the kid's body on the couch, trying to wake the hero up by force. Jumping awake with glowing eyes, the little protagonist leaps up, demanding to know who invaded his base. Surprised to come face to face with the witch with glasses, he relaxes his posture and recognizes the audacious invader. With a bored face, the kid admits he was wrong to run off with the treasure earlier, but finds it excessive that she hunted him all the way home for it. Sitting on the kid's lap without the slightest ceremony, the sorceress smiles and throws it in his face that she literally saved his life in the cave. Pressing the hero, she asserts that her help was essential and threatens the kid, telling him to forget everything he saw in that demonic realm. On the floor after the pressure, the protagonist finally learns the name of the bizarre place the girl usually explores. With a mocking smile, the kid warns he is not a well of virtue, but his memory is excellent when it comes to remembering secrets. Pulling out her magic wand on the spot, the sorceress loses patience, swearing to kill the cheeky one while he asks for calm with his hands raised. Sweating cold, the kid warns that the weapon has no eyes and complains that she can't handle even a light little joke. Straight to the point, he suggests that to keep his mouth shut she just needs to pay a monthly allowance, reminding her of the bag of valuable stones she farmed there. joining his hands in a prayer gesture. The mercenary reminds her that high-ranked missions pay a fortune, and he is flat broke. In a more serious tone, he explains that because of his low rank he needs an elite partner to take on difficult work and his time is very tight. Pulling a cheap bluff, the kid threatens to tell everyone her little secrets, and the woman accepts the partnership huffing with rage. With the deal sealed, the little protagonist kicks open the guild tavern door, entering with maximum swagger. Calling his blonde friend across the room, the kid offers to join the team but gets a cold and blunt rejection right then and there. Totally surrounded by beauties, Leishan brags about already having a heavyweight escort and announces he is heading up to the VIP lounge. Far from civilization, a sinister horde of skeletons and demons marches across a dead and colorless plain. In the middle of the crowd, an old crumbling zombie points at the sky, shocked by something approaching in the clouds. Like a meteor of fire, a giant red flag plunges from the sky, tearing through the monsters and making the horde scream in pain. Activating the soul-devouring umbrella, the macabre spell pulls the old one's spirit directly into the cursed fabric. From the darkness, a shadowy voice orders the weapon to return after devouring the souls of the pawns who were easy pickings. Holding the handle of the demonic umbrella, a monstrous hand collects the prize of the massacre. Imposing on the scene, a bizarre fat demon comments on the luck of finding living humans and praises the master who sucked an entire village in a single breath. Sitting on a throne of blood, the supreme demon king commands the troops, while the three celestial kings of hell obey immediately. Like a swarm of giant locusts, the demonic legion flies tearing through the dark sky toward a specific target. At the sanctuary's door, the bizarre monsters gather, announcing that the dark leader of the Buddha sect has finally arrived for war. Drawing blood magic, the demon warrior orders the prisoners to be sacrificed to the ancestral to strengthen the shadowy alliance. After slicing a human hostage, she smiles, feeling the sanctuary's energy is weak, and suggests a full immediate attack. With greedy eyes, the fat one agrees with the plan, thinking they can devour the blind ancestral and never pay tribute to him again. Suddenly, a wave of revolted blue souls begins to climb and attack the colossal body of the stone ancestral. In a panic, one of the lackeys screams that the vengeful souls have gone completely mad and will swallow the entire troop inside the monster. Completely out of control, the ancestral giant crushes its own spirits in a fit of absolute fury and madness. Drooling black slime, the colossal monster groans in a sickly voice, complaining that his hunger is still far from over.